Chapter 1876. Su Yan's footsteps were heavy as he passed through the purgatory. The scene in front of him changed drastically. It was like a place where primeval beings resided. A vast and multicolored expanse of the world was reflected before his eyes, and it was slightly unreal. Moreover, the deafening divine tune of the grand Tao exploded by his ears at all times. Su Yan felt that he had arrived at the end of the celestial world. Standing on the great Tao, it was as if he had reached the peak of the celestial Tao. One after another, the great Tao holy dragons soared through the sky and coiled between the mountains, gushing with auspicious light. The deafening sound of the great Tao filled the world. It was as if a yellow bell was ringing beside Su Yan's ears. It was as if the holy dragons were coiling around his body and the immortal phoenixes were spreading their wings at Su Yan. Buzz! Su Yan took one step after another. Soon, divine light shone from his body. Immortal splendor blazed as the sound of scriptures was transmitted from his body. His body, primordial spirit, and inner universe shone at the same time, forming three scripture rivers that interweaved and bloomed in the void. Suddenly, a vast image rose behind Su Yan. His Dharma idol was completely connected to the heavens, traversing heaven and earth. The three chapters of the universal scripture rotated and resonated with the great Tao sound that filled the sky. Su Yan seemed to be ascending to the heavens, reaching the peak of the celestial Tao step by step. His body became even more blazing and brilliant, and there was also divine light rippling. The universal Dharma idol behind him rotated, and the light that shone down became even more majestic, about to cover the entire world. Tao techniques bloomed, withstanding the baptism of heaven and earth. They grew stronger, deeper, and more profound. This was a great opportunity. The Immortal King's Cave was a baptism for Su Yan. Su Yan felt that his cultivation had climbed to the peak of Daesong and was progressing toward the Emperor domain. Su Yan didn't have much of an idea of what the Emperor Tao was, but he had captured an endless power. It was as if he was about to merge with the celestial world and erupt with invincible combat strength. At the final moment, Su Yan's body burned. In the world behind him, the light of thunder spread and emitted the power to split open the heavens. The universal scripture became even more profound, revealing the beginning of heaven and earth and the great spirit of reconstructing the primordial world. Extreme Yin, Extreme Yang, heaven-opening lightning scripture. A figure appeared beside Su Yan. In an instant, Su Yan felt like he had experienced the end of the universe, the collapse of the universe, the shattering of the sovereign Tao. His body and mind felt like they were being torn apart. Su Yan was shocked. This was the Tao protector of the king's city? One had to know that he could only be called a fake immortal king now. How terrifying would a true immortal king be? The Phoenix King retracted her aura, and Su Yan returned to normal. Although the Phoenix King was no longer an immortal king, he had still ascended to the immortal king realm back then. His horizons were too profound, and he could see through the various scriptures Su Yan cultivated with a single glance. Greetings, Lord Phoenix King. Su Yan bowed deeply and sighed from the bottom of his heart. Many thanks for the Phoenix King's guidance. Juniors gain a lot these days and can avoid many detours. If my duty, any outstanding king would be guided by the Tao protectors of the past, the Phoenix King said calmly. Su Yan had been silent for 3 days and 3 nights. He had gained a lot and was already pondering the sovereign Tao. One had to say that Su Yan's comprehension was shocking. This was also due to the scriptures he cultivated. His potential was extraordinary. He was a little surprised and said, "You can even obtain the sky-opening lightning scripture. Who gave it to you? Could it be that your mortal world has various sky-opening scriptures of the celestial world?" Su Yan didn't hesitate and said with a smile, "I dug it out from the incarnation of the Tenrai of Beach." Ha! Ha ha ha! The Phoenix King suddenly laughed. His figure was tall and majestic, and he had the might of a military marquis. His laughter was loud and heroic. Su Yan's words really surprised him. This was the sky-opening lightning scripture, one of the 10 great sky opening scriptures of the celestial world. It was very likely that it was a peerless scripture that was formed along with the origin of the celestial world. It could also be called a priceless treasure. The sky-opening lightning scripture that the thunder immortal elder treasured like his life had fallen into Su Yan's hands. If news of this spread, it would be a huge joke. Su Yan scratched his head and laughed as well. I have no enmity with that lineage. They wanted to kill me, so I took their scripture. This isn't too much, right? Not at all. Well done. I haven't been so happy in a long time. The Phoenix King laughed heartily. This is your opportunity. Young man, you are quite bold. You have cultivated so many scriptures, but the most important one is the inner scripture, which dominates the great Yin and great Yang. I'm a little curious. Whose master did you learn from? Tao Protector, I am Su Yan. I came from the celestial court. Su Yan had a straight figure, and his long black hair was draped over his shoulders. He said word by word, the scripture that I learned is the scripture of the celestial court, the initial scripture. Initial scripture. The Phoenix King's eyes shone brightly. He had never heard of this scripture before. Could it be that it was created by the celestial emperor? Tell me about the celestial court. The Phoenix King asked Su Yan to sit down. The old man and the young man sat cross-legged on the ground. They looked very relaxed, and Su Yan wasn't too nervous. At this moment, the Tao Protector was very different from when he forced the Jail King to cut off his arm. Actually, the Tao Protector felt that it was a pity that he couldn't kill the Jail King. Moreover, he knew that if he really killed the Jail King, the matter would be huge. The celestial world would most likely be in chaos. The Phoenix King wasn't afraid of the Xian people. He even dared to kill his way into the dark world. So why would he be afraid of the Xian people? Su Yan said solemnly, my understanding of the history of the celestial court is limited. 1,000,000 years ago, the dark world invaded the Xianhuang universe, and the Xianhuang universe declined. The hundreds of millions of troops of the celestial court left their home and went on an expedition. No one knows where they went. The Tao Protector's expression was solemn. No one knew where they went. How mighty were the ancient celestial emperors? How could the force that he created be weak? It was definitely extremely powerful. It directly reversed the declining situation of the human world and restabilized the situation of the three realms. One had to know that the situation of the three realms was broken millions of years ago. Now, there weren't many races in the celestial world who knew about this matter. What happened 1,000,000 years ago? The Phoenix King frowned, and his expression became even more solemn. If the dark world found the human world and launched a large-scale attack, how could the celestial world not know? Su Yan didn't remain silent or hesitate. He shook his head. He wasn't sure. He didn't plan to tell the Tao Protector about the celestial world and the reincarnation emperor race working together to attack the dark world. The Tao Protector's children had all died in battle. He hated the dark world. Back then, he could choose to die in battle, but he wasn't willing to swallow his anger and live. If he knew the inside story, the Phoenix King would definitely be furious. Su Yan was really worried that the Phoenix King would die. Moreover, even if the Phoenix King could withstand it, who would believe him if he told the Tao Protector about this matter? The reason was that in the celestial world, the emperor race was extremely glorious. Along with the river of time, it was hard to shake the emperor race without conclusive evidence. Tao Protector, I would like to ask, back then, when the celestial emperor of the celestial court came to the celestial world, where did he go? Su Yan's words caused the Phoenix King to regain his senses. He sighed, it is a taboo in history. When the ancient celestial emperors ascended to the celestial world, he came with rage. The reincarnation emperor race was almost wiped out, and the Xian people were no exception. The celestial race, reincarnation emperor race, and Xian people, they're the three most ancient emperor clans of the celestial world. However, two of them were almost uprooted. Shock flashed in the Phoenix King's eyes. It was a pity that he wasn't born in that era. It was a pity that he wasn't able to witness the might of the celestial emperors. This was a huge regret in the Tao Protector's life. It was hard to imagine how majestic the ancient celestial emperors were. This matter happened tens of millions of years ago. But now that he thought about it, it was like an explosion that reverberated in his ears. Su Yin was shocked. The two emperor clans were almost wiped out. This was how terrifying the ancient celestial emperors were. They were the founders of the celestial court. That was a taboo in history. It was related to the glory of the emperor clans. However, the Xian people and the reincarnation emperor race were emperor clans after all. The two emperor clans were almost uprooted. The various parties in the celestial world wouldn't agree to it. Could it be that the celestial emperors left with injuries? Su Yan's heart sank. The ancient celestial emperors were outsiders in the celestial world. If the various emperors' roads of the celestial world worked together, one could imagine how powerful they would be. No, we can't threaten him. The Phoenix King said in a deep voice, if it wasn't for the invasion of the dark world, this matter wouldn't be settled peacefully. After all, to the invincible experts, they have an irreversible will. They can't be stopped. In the end, the various parties in the celestial world would give in. The celestial world wouldn't shake the foundation of the entire celestial world just because of the two emperor clans. At this point, Su Yan's heart was in turmoil. They were almost removed from the list. No wonder they wanted to put the entire celestial court on trial more than 10 years ago. The Tao Protector was solemn. He was quite respectful towards the ancient celestial emperors. He said, according to what I know, the celestial emperor went to the dark world and dealt a heavy blow to the dark world. Otherwise, the celestial world wouldn't have been able to recuperate for millions of years. However, the ancient celestial emperors mysteriously disappeared. That taboo history where emperor blood filled the sky happened in a very short period of time. It also disappeared in a very short period of time. This was very bizarre. The terrifying and invincible ancient celestial emperors disappeared. Some experts in the celestial world speculated that he might have died in battle, or he might have left the three realms. In short, his whereabouts were a mystery. Why did he disappear? Su Yin was a little confused. The greatest enemy of the three realms was the dark world. He was a little shocked. The ancient celestial emperors fell in the dark world. He didn't dare to believe it. He believed the Tao Protector's deduction even more. It was very likely that he wasn't in the three realms. Could it be that he encountered a huge problem and couldn't return? This is a cold case in history. The Tao Protector said solemnly. That year, the ancient celestial emperors disappeared. Many years later, a group of experts came from the celestial court. Some of them were on the same level as the founders of the ancient celestial emperors. They even went to the dark world, but strangely, they also disappeared. The celestial world and the dark world fought for a long time. The Phoenix King was even more certain that they didn't fall in the dark world. They should have gone to a special area and encountered a huge problem. It was difficult for them to return. Outside the three realms, Su Yin felt a chill down his spine. How big was this world? Were some problems so terrifying that they couldn't be solved? The powerful ancient celestial emperors were already the limit of the limit. But what was outside the three realms? The Tao Protector's heart was heavy. The power that the ancient celestial emperors established was corroded by the dark matter, but he didn't return. The Phoenix King felt that his conjecture had endless possibilities. The ancient celestial emperors were outside the three realms and had lost contact with everything. He sighed deeply. Tens of millions of years have passed. The great calamity is coming. The damaged celestial world, I don't know how long it can last. What do you mean? Su Yin was shocked. A damaged celestial world. Could it be that the celestial world was already incomplete? A long time ago, the celestial world wasn't inferior to the dark world. It could be said that they were on the same level. The Tao Protector's tone was low. According to what I know, the celestial world is damaged and incomplete. Things were different now. The mortal world had withered, and the situation between the two worlds had been broken. The Tao Protector could foresee the ferocity of the next calamity. Su Yan's heart trembled. He realized that the small pagoda in his sea of consciousness trembled and then calmed down. The Tao Protector's words alarmed small pagoda. Did he still have a will? Su Yin, think about what you should do in the future. Think about it carefully. The Tao Protector's body disappeared, and this region became silent. Su Yan's brow frowned. What should he do in the future? In the past, he came to the celestial world to become stronger and to grow in the environment of the celestial world. But now, a month ago, he saw the true face of the Emperor race and also saw how strong they were. If Su Yin stayed in the King's City, he definitely wouldn't face any danger. But once he left, the celestial world would be vast, and there would be danger everywhere. He could avoid it once or twice, or even more, but he would always face danger. If he wasn't careful, he would die. Now, there were only two paths in front of Su Yin. He could either leave or advance. But no matter whether he left or advanced, Su Yin craved strength. Only by staying in the celestial world could he satisfy himself. The road ahead is bumpy. Life and death are endless, and great enemies are everywhere. Su Yan's eyes shone, and he said coldly, "But I, Su Yin, am not afraid. Back then, I crawled out of hell. No matter how difficult the future is, there will be a place for me to stand." He wanted to become the strongest in the world. He wanted to not be troubled or humiliated. In the future, when he was strong enough, he could settle scores and make the Xian people bow their heads. Without a peerless enemy, how can I be invincible in the world? Su Yin roared. The battle blood in his body surged, and his clothes were torn apart, revealing his terrifying heaven burial body. Between heaven and earth, the sound of killing filled the air. Golden spears and armored horses surged. His entire body was covered in divine light. His Dharma idol filled the sky, and his title appeared. It was as if he had turned into an invincible human emperor. He had the ambition to swallow rivers and mountains, and the belief to intimidate the world. I want to become a celestial king. I want to be an invincible person. A real man should be like this. This was not an oath. This was Su Yan's belief. In the future, he could crush everything and make the emperor race fall. Rising up against the heavens was a supreme achievement. Terrifying enemies could temper him to become stronger and more invincible. Without a strong enemy, how could he succeed? Cutting through thorns and thorns, the path of the strong was filled with corpses. He would fight for hegemony while bathed in blood and become an invincible emperor. At the same time, outside the King City, prodigy from the human world, how long do you want me to wait for you? I will stand on the graveyard of the experts of the Heaven Burial Cave and kill you here. A murderous aura spread out, and a terrifying fluctuation rushed towards the King's City, accompanied by a thunderous divine voice. The heavenly astral king had already lost his patience. It had been more than a month, and Su Yin still hadn't come out. How long did he have to wait? Chapter 1877. In the core area of the immortal king's abode, dragons soared into the sky, and divine light shone for tens of thousands of feet. Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. He wasn't an indecisive person. After thinking for a while, he came to an answer. He came to the depths of the abode. Boom! This area wasn't calm. It was as if layers of huge black waves covered the sky and covered the earth. They carried a terrifying suppressive force as they crossed the heavens and pressed down on the boundless earth. If this wasn't an immortal king's abode with the strongest laws and order interwoven to envelop this secret place, the surging black storm alone would be enough to destroy this area. It was a black divine furnace. It was resplendent and blazing like a huge black abyss that could easily swallow the starry sky of the universe. The divine furnace burned fiercely as it floated between heaven and earth. The scene became more and more terrifying. This was the Phoenix King continuously using his power. Together with the five-colored immortal Phoenix Cauldron, he continuously purified the divine furnace and cut off the spiritual imprint of the Xian people. After all, it was an immortal king weapon. A certain amount of time was needed to completely purify it. Su Yin sat cross-legged. He wasn't idle either. He engraved the sky opening thunder scripture and prepared to give it to the Tao protector. He believed that this scripture would be of some help to him. At night, the black divine furnace shone even more brilliantly. The entire divine furnace glowed, and the sound of chanting surged inside. It displayed the strongest laws and order, outlining an extremely grand purgatory world of gods and demons. The furnace of suppression was forged using the immortal devil domain suppression scripture. This was a top-notch scripture of the immortal race. Even if the Tao Protector destroyed the spiritual imprint within the furnace of suppression, the general power of the furnace of suppression was still there. In the latter half of the night, the divine furnace rumbled and rose from the ground with a rumble. The collision shook the heavens and the mountains violently. The entire space seemed to have disintegrated. The suppressive force was incomparable. The divine furnace was especially terrifying. It was as if a sleeping immortal king was awakening. Heaven and earth trembled, the sun and moon sank. In the instant it was spat out, the divine power of the immortal king's abode suddenly decreased by a level. The world seemed somewhat dark. Suyin opened his eyes. This divine furnace was too powerful. The Xian people had really thrown away their capital. The furnace of suppression had already been purified by the Tao Protector. In the future, it would belong to their lineage. Boom! Suddenly, the furnace of suppression flew over and sat on top of Su Yan's head. It rumbled and turned in the aura of suppression. The laws were extremely powerful, as if an immortal king was attacking. Tao Protector, what are you doing? Su Yan was astonished. The furnace of suppression floated above his head, spewing out radiance. There was no doubt about the power of this treasure. It was now an ownerless item, but Su Yan could control it. Perhaps he had sensed the potential of the furnace of suppression. With his cultivation, it was too difficult for him to release its power of the world, of the Li. If you nourish it with your lifeblood essence, it will be easier to control it in the future. Su Yan's ferocious figure shook, and he hurriedly said, "You protected me in the capital, and it's already an enormous kindness. I can't accept this immortal king weapon at all. This gift is too precious." The ancient war chariot Su Yan obtained was only a taboo treasure. How could it compare to the furnace of suppression? Even 10 ancient war chariots couldn't compare to the furnace of suppression. Although he didn't understand how valuable an immortal king weapon was, this thing required an endless amount of precious treasures to forge. The immortal Phoenix army was founded by me. The Tao Protector clasped his hands behind his back. A hint of sorrow flashed past his face. From glory to decline, everything is directly related to me. I've let down those old brothers. Their descendants will be spared from the pain of the demonic energy. This is my gratitude. But this gift is too valuable. Lord Phoenix King, please take it back. Su Yan smiled bitterly. The immortal Phoenix army is full of good men. They don't fear death. They fought a bloody battle against the dark world. I've only contributed some meager strength. How can it compare to the furnace of suppression? Take it. This treasure fell into my hands because of you. The road ahead is bumpy. Take it as my repayment to the ancient celestial emperors for the tens of millions of years of time to recover for the celestial realm. The Tao Protector was majestic and imposing. His back was ramrod straight, like a majestic mountain in front of him. This was the charm of the Tao Protector. Otherwise, he would have established one of the 10 great armies, the immortal Phoenix Army. Back then, he had almost died on the way to attack the Dark World. If it weren't for his many old brothers risking their lives to help him, using their flesh and blood to build a path of return, he wouldn't have been able to return. He had regretted it before, but he also didn't regret it. It sounded very contradictory. For the sake of his children, he could die on the battlefield, but he had let down his old brothers. The battle back then was too tragic. Not many of them had survived until now. Some of them were even plagued by diseases. Even the Tao Protector was no exception. Su Yan didn't persist anymore. He opened the heaven-burying cave, and a huge amount of yang qi and raging flames leaked out. So much. The Tao Protector was astonished. It was like a fiery red ocean. Back then, Su Yan had filled the heaven-burying cave, so he clearly understood the importance of this item. Thus, he stored away countless yang qi and raging flames. Su Yan kept a small portion of this item and gave the rest to the Tao Protector. "Is this item of help to you?" Su Yan asked. The Tao Protector carefully inspected the yang qi and raging flames. Soon, He was moved and said, "This energy, the expert who left this item behind, is definitely in existence with great achievements. Although it isn't a much help to me, it is very important to my old brothers." The Tao Protector laughed heartily. The stronger one's cultivation, the more serious the corrosion of the dark world's harmful substances would be. Back then, when the Tao Protector slaughtered his way to the dark world, he encountered the crazy attacks of experts of the same generation, leaving behind almost irrecoverable scars. It was already a miracle that he was able to survive. After cultivating for tens of thousands of years, he had recovered a lot of vitality. There was hope for him to return to his peak. That's good. Suyin also laughed happily. Then he brought out the heaven-opening lightning scripture and solemnly handed it over to the Phoenix King. "Brat, I was originally going to give you a treasure, but now you've taken out so many things. I don't want to owe someone a favor." The Tao Protector naturally paid close attention to the heaven-opening lightning scripture. This scripture was rumored to be related to the origin of the celestial realm. For celestial kings, even the first half was extremely important. Its value couldn't be measured by wealth. In any case, I stole it, so it's not a big deal. Suyin laughed loudly. If not for the small pagoda inscribing the heaven-opening lightning scripture's characters, even if this scripture was stolen, it would be very difficult for Su Yin to cultivate it. I won't be polite then. Let's get back to the main topic. The Phoenix King received the heaven-opening lightning scripture and said, "Tell me what you think. Is there a faster path to becoming a celestial king?" Su Yan's words were astonishing. The Tao Protector couldn't help but laugh. How difficult was the path to becoming a celestial king? Back then, the reason why the Phoenix King broke through was because he encountered a great opportunity. Looking through the entire celestial realm, there were millions and millions of ancient realms, countless experts, but could one step into the celestial king realm? Not to mention 10,000 years. Even if it was 100,000 years, there might not be a single celestial king realm expert. 100,000 years might not even be a single celestial king realm expert. Su Yin was stunned. Wasn't this probability too low? This was 100,000 years. Moreover, with the number of elites in the celestial realm, there might not even be a single celestial king realm expert. The path to becoming a celestial king is too difficult. I have seen many fake celestial kings, and even after millions of years, they still couldn't break through to the celestial king realm, the Phoenix King said. This probability is very low. Not only does it involve the problem of natural talent, even if all the young prodigies of the celestial cave were released, the chances of them becoming celestial kings are extremely slim. The hope was too low. Since ancient times, there have been many elites with exceptional natural talent in the celestial realm, but how could one step into the celestial king realm just by talking about it? The present Su Yin wasn't an emperor tier yet, so it was a little too long before he had considered this problem. However, the eyes of the Tao Protector were fierce. His eyes shrunk, and he said in a low voice, "There are shortcuts to breaking through to the celestial king realm, but they are very difficult. The first path is in the Emperor City. One battle to become an emperor, one can obtain great opportunities and obtain the luck of the celestial realm. This is a shortcut, but no one has ever succeeded before." The Phoenix King felt that there was no hope for this path. There were naturally unparalleled geniuses who opened this path in the past, but they all ended in failure. They would easily die on the battlefield of the strongest. "There are other paths?" Su Yin asked. "Yes, there are people who have succeeded on the second path, and there might even be more than one." The Tao Protector nodded, "But this path has been a long time ago in the celestial realm. Those who have succeeded are as rare as phoenix feathers and Chilan horns. One can count them with one hand. But it is too difficult. One has to be at the right time and place." He didn't really want to tell Su Yin that since he chose to stay and roam the celestial realm, he would face the misfortune of being killed at any time. He definitely wanted to become strong. There were shortcuts to the celestial king realm, but the price was blood. Su Yin asked. He wanted to try. Maybe there was hope. "You really want to try?" The Tao Protector smiled bitterly. "It isn't that I am discouraging you. Although you are strong in Saint Realm, This path is really difficult. The history of the celestial world is too long, and the number of people who succeeded can be counted on one hand. Tao Protector, please tell me. Su Yin said, my situation is already dangerous enough, so there is nothing I can't pay. You won 3 rounds in the celestial demon battlefield. The Tao Protector's voice was low. You can obtain the right to enter the celestial world's source land of good fortune. There is hope for you to become a celestial king. Su Yin was stunned. Won 3 rounds? The Celestial Demon War was a battle between the most terrifying geniuses of the celestial world and darkness world. It was a battle between the war god seeds. Winning 1 round was already a huge honor, but winning 3 rounds was something only a few people could do since ancient times. They also had a lot of luck, and they didn't meet the most terrifying people from the darkness world. Did they successfully step into the Celestial King realm? Su Yin asked. Since ancient times, 4 have appeared, and 2 of them won. The Tao Protector's words had a great impact on Su Yin. The success rate was 50%. The shortcut to becoming a Celestial King, the source land of good fortune of the celestial world. Su Yin was overwhelmed with emotions. He turned a bid farewell to the Tao Protector and told him that the 3rd Elder was going to the 3 Realms battlefield. I really shouldn't have told him. The Tao Protector shook his head. If Su Yin really went, the death rate was too high. He already had to win 3 rounds. The difficulty could be imagined. Before you prepare to leave, tell me not to run around these few days and not to leave the King's City. The Tao Protector's voice rang out. Su Yin, who was about to leave the Celestial King's cave, felt his heart sink. The Tao Protector most likely saw something. The Xian people suffered such a great loss. How could they let him leave the King's City and spread his wings? Little Mu Xen. In the next moment, the Tao Protector's divine sense gushed out. An illusory figure appeared in Mu Xen's residence with a benevolent smile. Grandpa provoked the Xian people. I'm afraid they will do something to you. You should leave too. I've taught you all these years. Go out and explore with Su Yin and the others. Grandpa. Mu Xen's delicate body trembled slightly. Ever since her father passed away, she had been grounded in the King's City. As the Tao Protector's only granddaughter, Mu Xen wasn't a weakling. Now that the Tao Protector allowed her to leave, although her wings weren't fully grown, she could still hold her own. She was born in the King's City and grew up in the King's City. Normally, she would only go out for a walk and never leave. But now, the Phoenix King allowed her to leave to avoid a fatal disaster. He understood the Emperor race too well. The prison king cut off his own arms, and the 4 taboo experts died in the King's City. The Xian people wouldn't let this go. Chapter 1878. The 3rd Elder left. The Tao Protector agreed to his request. It was as if he had come back to life. His energy recovered a bit, and he left for the 3 Realms battlefield. The 3 Realms battlefield was a place of chaos. It was a place of death and bloodshed. It was a place of great fear. The 3 Realms battlefield was once the most terrifying battlefield in the 3 Realms. It wasn't rare for immortal kings to die in battle. With the 3rd Elder's current situation, he wouldn't live for more than a few days. He was atoning for his sins for his family. He didn't want his family to be implicated. Su Yin left the Immortal King's cave and met East Demon and the others. They had gained a lot from the treasury, and as soon as they met, they had a secret discussion about what to do next. East Demon decided to go to the battlefield, and so did Fan Jian. After all, if they gained enough merits on the battlefield, they wouldn't have to worry about resources. Moreover, there were all kinds of treasures on the battlefield that could be exchanged with merits. The Immortal Phoenix army was stationed at the 3rd battlefield all year round. East Demon and the others were preparing to go with Skystar and the others. They could be considered to have joined the Immortal Phoenix army. Moreover, they had gained a lot from the Xian People's Cave. They had given Shonba batch after batch of resources. They estimated that they could get 1 or 200,000 kilograms of immortal source. This was a shocking amount. It was enough for them to enter the Daesong realm for a short time. Su Yin frowned. I'm one of the treasure trove left behind in the Bury the Heavens. East Demon, you should come with me. The battlefield isn't necessarily peaceful. Yes, East Demon, let's go together. We can look after each other on the way, Fairy Zixia said softly. The mysterious skeleton also wanted them to go to the ruins left behind in the Bury the Heavens after they were crowned king. Perhaps they could gain something there. I've already talked to Battle King Skystar. I'm going to the battlefield to gain experience for a while. East Demon shook his head. He was also an expert. He felt that going with Su Yin and the others would limit his growth. Most importantly, East Demon didn't lack scriptures. What he lacked was stronger challenges and training. Going to the battlefield was the best choice. Fan Jian hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and nodded. He didn't want to follow Su Yin. The former #1 swordsman in the world also had his own pride. Looking at the entire immortal world, what was Fan Jian? As the strongest disciple of the immortal heavenly domain sword sect, he also wanted to make a name for himself. Seeing that they had made up their minds, Su Yin could only nod. He took out a portion of the raging yang flame and gave it to East Demon. At the same time, he said, after we finish exploring the treasures left behind and bury the heavens, if there's nothing else, we might meet up with you at the third battlefield. For now, Su Yan's goal was the immortal demon battlefield. He had to reach the pinnacle of the Daesong realm before the opening of the immortal devil battleground. There were still 10 years before the opening of the immortal devil battleground. Although it was a little rushed, Su Yin was already at the 5th tier of the Daesong realm. He had 9 drops of immortal king blood essence in his body, which was enough to ensure that Su Yin could charge into Daesong's peak domain. The Grand Saintess also came to bid them farewell. She had already joined a prosperous sect in the immortal world. She was one of the top 10 sects in the immortal world. After all, she had the Xiantian Dao body and was directly taken in as a core seed. Originally, Fan Jian was also invited, but he refused. He was really worried that he would be killed. As for Bao Kai and the others, the 7 kings swept through the Xian people's official residences. No one dared to take them in. On the other hand, the Grand Saintess was different. She had nothing to do with the celestial court. The Xian people also didn't pay attention to her. Saintess, your luck is really good. Su Yin gave us sincere blessings. I wish you good luck and become the saintess of your sect soon. Your name will spread throughout the immortal world. Thank you for the compliment. The Grand Saintess smiled. She was very charming and elegant. He believed that she would have great achievements in the future. Then, she said solemnly, the world is vast. We will meet again in the future. Let's part here. The group watched the Grand Saintess leave. The experts who came to recruit her only watched from afar and didn't approach. A month ago, the storm in Monarch City was too terrifying. With the potential of Su Yin and the others, no matter which side they joined, they would be warmly welcomed. However, they avoided it like the plague. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. If it weren't for the fact that the Grand Saintess had the Xiantian Dao body, which was the same constitution as the sect's founder, they wouldn't have dared to get involved. East Demon and Fan Jian sighed. It was time for them to leave. Big brother, said Bao Kai. Take care. A sword light flashed in Fan Jian's eyes. The changes in Monarch City made Fan Jian realize his own shortcomings. If he couldn't become stronger quickly, his future would be drowned in the flood of history. Take care. Su Yin waved and watched them leave. Su Yin, what's the treasure you mentioned? Bao Kai was stunned. What treasure was so important that the mysterious skeleton was interested in it? Bury the Heavens was the most terrifying giant in the burial ground era. He was also an emperor powerhouse in the celestial world. How could the secret palace he left behind not be terrifying? Su Yin had asked Mu Xian before. Many emperor clans had tried to get the treasure, but unfortunately, they had all failed. Su Yin had the buried heaven avatar after all. He had a high chance of opening the treasure. An emperor powerhouse. Bao Cai's body shook, and his eyes almost spat fire. He didn't expect that he would be able to master the method to clear the strongest treasure when he had just arrived. I think we should hurry up and set off. Monarch City is getting more and more restless. Let's get rid of the people outside the city and explore as soon as possible. Bao Kai hurriedly urged. The heavenly astral king had been clamoring all day, and his attitude was quite unfriendly. If Tai Bao Kai wasn't a saint, he would have wanted to go out and meet the heavenly astral king. He wanted to know how powerful Daesung was. Before leaving, Su Yin found Xiongba. He couldn't forget the series of puppets of the uncanny craftsmanship sect. Su Yin wanted Xiongba to help him collect a batch of materials. These materials were quite precious, but it was just a small matter for Xiongba. If the human-shaped puppet progressed smoothly, it could directly advance to the Emperor Path level. It would be of great help to Su Yan's current situation. I know. I'll help you collect them as soon as possible. Xiongba nodded and agreed. Master Xiongba, Bao Kai shouted, there's a dog called the Heavenly Astral King outside the city. He threatened to kill us. What do you think we should do? If you're strong enough, just hang him up and beat him. What else can we do? If you're not strong enough, then shut up. Xiongba glared at Bao Kai and said, I know you're leaving. You have to cultivate the 36 forms of the giant bear that I've taught you. Don't slack off. Bao Cai's face darkened, but didn't dare to say anything. It felt that the name was too unpleasant. It seriously suspected that Xiongba had changed the name of this pinnacle divine ability. Su Yin had an answer and left directly. There was no need to be afraid. This was the royal city, and it was the Phoenix King's territory. Who knew that as soon as they walked out of the Elder Courtyard, several young experts with powerful auras forced their way over. Their expressions were extremely unfriendly. I say, Su Yin, how long do you want the Heavenly Astral King to wait for you? At the very least, there should be a response, right? After all, he's a noble of the heavens. Do you think this is appropriate? A man frowned and said, no matter what, there should be an explanation. Su Yin looked at these young men and women and said indifferently, do I need you to teach me how to do things? You're too rude. A woman pointed at Su Yin and said angrily, it's been so long. Even if you admit defeat, you should at least reply. Don't think that just because you're in the Protector's territory, you can disrespect a noble of the heavens. Su Yin, you should be clear about your position now. You're about to face a noble of the heavens. How dare you? Su Yan's eyes widened as he shouted coldly, I'm the heavens' equal Saint King. You people aren't even nobles. How dare you stand here and criticize me loudly? Who gave you the guts? The entire street was shaken by Su Yan's aura. The wrath of a noble changed the color of the heavens and the earth, and a massacre was born. The street was in chaos. Many people stared at Su Yin, who was as tall as a demon, and felt a headache coming on. This ruthless scum had come out. The incident where Su Yin destroyed the official residence of the Xian people was still vivid in their minds. Everyone's expression changed when they talked about it. Now, the Heavenly Astral King was entrenched outside the city. He had already asked Su Yin to come out and fight to the death. After all, the Heavenly Astral King was a noble of the heavens. He was the core genius of the Immortal Cave and was extremely powerful. This person's weight was quite impressive. Puffed, this group of young men and women trembled all over. They were shocked by Su Yan's aura and stepped back. The qi and blood in their bodies surged and were about to explode. These people were shocked and didn't dare to look at Su Yin. This person was too powerful and extraordinary. He didn't seem like a Daesung who had just broken through. Instead, he seemed like an old monster with unfathomable skills. Clap, clap, clap. The atmosphere of the entire street was quite depressing. At this moment, applause sounded, one after another, breaking the silence. Su Yin looked forward and saw a familiar face. It was Starry Night. How awe-inspiring. Starry Night had a smile on her face. Her aura was noble, and her clothes fluttered in the wind. She had the demeanor of a peerless noble lady and the majesty of an emperor clan's genius. She said how awe-inspiring. Even a noble can give you so much courage. Su Yin, it seems like I have to reevaluate you. Bamboo Moon frowned. This woman mocked and ridiculed them and kept finding trouble with them. She was disgusted. Isn't this the woman we chased for days and nights? She still has the face to stand here. Bao Kai sneered. This made Starry Night's eyes flash with a trace of coldness. Back then, she was chased by Bao Kai and Bamboo Moon for days and nights. If she hadn't gathered a group of experts from the 36 battlefields, she might have been forced out of the battlefield. Starry Night was furious. Her silver eyes fell on Su Yin. She said coldly, let's go. Follow me outside the city. You can't hide. The protectors can protect you for a while, but they can't protect you forever. Whether you live or die depends on your own ability. I feel disgusted when I see you. Can you stay away from me? Suyan's face was full of annoyance. Starry Night was really like a fly. Bastard, Suyan, who are you humiliating? I gave you face, didn't I? Starry Night was furious. She pointed at him and said, Do you really think that no one can suppress you? Why are you so arrogant in the royal city? If you have the guts, go outside the city and fight with the heavenly astral king. Someone will teach you how to tuck your tail between your legs. You're too rude. Is this a member of the Emperor clan? Zhu Yu was enraged. Her snow-white hand suddenly rose up and slapped towards Shinkong Shan's face. The people around were a little stunned. Starry Night was also stunned. Her brain was a little stiff. Someone was slapping her face on the street, and it was even a woman. Starry Night's reaction was also very fast. The aura in her body exploded instantly. Even the secret treasure in her hand was awakened. However, no matter how strong Starry Night was, she was still not Daesong. She did not even become a king before she left in a hurry and went to the immortal cave to spread the news of Little Thunder's death. Bamboo Moon was peerless. Her hair danced in the wind like a fairy. On her snow-white forehead, a blazing mark flashed. It was like a sea of stars across the sky. When the sun and moon were destroyed, it carried the monstrous killing intent of the immortal world. At this moment, Bamboo Moon completely changed. She was beautiful, and her graceful body gushed with the radiance of the galaxy. Moreover, the aura of the sky bamboo forest filled the air. In an instant, she destroyed the secret treasure that was blocking the sky. Her jade palm crushed Starry Night's energy order. Slap! This bloody slap landed on Starry Night's face. Her snow-white face cracked, the bridge of her nose collapsed, her eyes sunk, and 5 or 6 teeth spat out. Ah! Then she screamed and fell to the ground. Her whole body trembled, and it was difficult for her to get up. However, the flames of anger burned so fiercely that they wanted to burn down heaven and earth. Who was she? She was the proud daughter of heaven of the Starry Sky Emperor clan. Her fiancé was the Tenrai of Beach, who dared to slap her on the street. Moreover, the other party was a woman. The entire street was dumbfounded. Starry Night was sent flying with a slap. It was a direct slap to her face. Bamboo Moon's whole body surged with divine might, suppressing a group of men and women who wanted to support Starry Night. She stood in the air, her beauty unparalleled. She frowned and said, Woman, how can you be so uneducated? No matter what, Su Yin is still a king. You have no right to humiliate him. Starry Night was furious. Her hair stood on end. She was going crazy. A woman had slapped her face and lectured her. This was the second time. You bitch, I'm going to kill you. Starry Night roared. Her image was gone. Her emperor bloodline had awakened, and an even stronger killing weapon had awakened. She wanted to kill Bamboo Moon. Stop, equal heaven Saint King, please have mercy. These young men and women with powerful auras were scared out of their wits. Suyan exploded. He strode over and stepped firmly on Xing Shan's body. A scream rang out, and blood dyed the sky. Starry Night's body was broken, and her whole body was covered in blood. There was no hope for the killing weapon in her body to be revived. It was directly suppressed by Su Yin. Do you really think you are some big shot? You dare to be disrespectful to the nobles in King's City, hurling insults and insults at every turn. The Emperor clan gave you status, not strength. Without strength, you're acting so domineering here. You're just making a scene. Even I feel embarrassed for your clan. The royal city seemed to be rumbling. Su Yin put his hands behind his back and looked down at the tragic Starry Night. He said coldly, Who can answer me? What crime is this? Reporting to the Saint King. The guard guarding the gate of the Elder Courtyard straightened his back and roared, humiliating a noble. Based on the crime, 20 strokes of the rod. Dead or alive. Bao Kai execution. Su Yin said coldly, Starry Night, listen up. If you can survive, you're lucky. I will go and kill the Tenrai Beach now. Next time, I hope you can call the Tenrai Beach here. We will settle old and new debts together. I will wait for him in the royal city. Chapter 1879. His thunderous voice reverberated in the world of the royal city. A large group of cultivators trembled. Who was Starry Night? She was the Emperor race's pride, a genius from the Immortal's Cave, and the fiancée of the Tenrai Beach. Now, Su-Yin was going to beat her 20 times in front of everyone in the royal city. Who would dare to do that? But to Su-Yin, who had washed the Xian people's official residence in blood and was crowned as the equal of Heaven's Sage King, he really had the guts. After all, Su-Yin was a noble, but Starry Night was not. She had no right to humiliate a noble. Many people's blood was boiling. Following Su-Yan's figure, they seemed to shine. So what if he was from the Emperor race? He ran amok in the royal city and disregarded the law. He should be punished severely. Otherwise, everyone in the world would fight for the noble title. What was the point of that? I'll punish her. Tai Baokai roared at the sky. This was a war monarch, the manifestation of his title. The immortal world's killing order descended. Tai Baokai grabbed the law enforcement staff with his claws. The moment he waved it, it seemed to be dancing in the vast starry sky. How dare you? How dare you? Shinkong Shan was about to go crazy. Her eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as anger burned in her heart. She was a woman who cared about her reputation and had a noble status. But now, she was being suppressed by Su-Yin and was being trampled under his feet. She even had to face the punishment of 20 strokes. She was really going to explode. Her messy hair danced in the wind as she screamed. As the pride of the Emperor race in the starry sky, if she was really beaten 20 times in public, how could she face others in the future? Ah, a scream was heard, accompanied by blood splattering everywhere. Starry Night's mouth was smashed. The law enforcement staff suddenly attacked with unparalleled strength. Tai Baokai could explode with his strongest strength. The people in the city were stunned. His mouth had been smashed into mush. This attack was truly too ruthless. Many people stared at Tai Baokai. This seemingly simple and honest giant was actually a powerful war king, yet he showed no mercy at all. What kind of ferocious people were these? There were also some people who thought that a Starry Night was nothing compared to the 7 nobles who even dared to massacre the Xian people's official residence a month ago. Bang, bang, bang. The capital rumbled, reverberating with the sound of thunder. The sticks smashed down again and again. Starry Sky Shan's skin was torn open and her flesh was torn apart. It was a horrible sight. The bones in her body were breaking, and she was about to be killed. Strictly speaking, 20 strokes was already a very heavy punishment. She, Starry Night, was a saint, and so was Baokai. The staff that hit her was also tailor-made for saints. If it was the staff that beat up Yingwu Wang back then, Yingwu Wang would probably die in a few hits on Starry Night. Ah, Starry Night's body was hit 10 times in a row. She was in excruciating pain. Her body was already rotten. There was a trace of fear in her heart. She felt that she was going to die in King's City. She was really scared. A trace of fear spread in her heart. One had to admit that she was extraordinary. Endless energy essence leaked out of her rotten body. This was the terrifying substance that had been accumulated in the Immortal's Cave for a long time. It was gushing out and nourishing her injured body. Kill! Baokai roared. The staff came crashing down, and Starry Night's body trembled. A large part of her essence exploded, and her bones were all broken. However, even her bones contained a huge amount of energy substance. The moment it leaked out, it wrapped around the broken bones and started self-healing. Many people were amazed. The Immortal's Cave was indeed the Immortal's Cave. Every one of them had a huge amount of resources. Even in a desperate situation, they could still activate it to nourish their injured bodies. Let's see how much resources you have. I'll destroy them all. Tai Baokai roared in a low voice. It rolled across the sky and smashed on his Starry Night's body again. This time, it wanted to hurt her and scare her. Even if it couldn't kill Starry Night, it wanted her to remember it for the rest of her life. Look, Heaven's equal Saint King left. Did he really go to find the heavenly astral king? Heaven's equal Saint King just stepped into the Daesung realm for a little more than a month. However, the heavenly astral king is a celestial noble. More importantly, he's a pinnacle Daesung expert. Can Heaven's equal Saint King really defeat the heavenly astral king? King City was in an uproar. A large number of experts went to watch. No matter what, once the two experts started fighting, it would definitely be a battle for supremacy. Suyin wasn't a weakling. If he dared to go, it meant that he had enough confidence. Outside King City, in a desolate graveyard. This area was sacred and solemn. Many young talents of the younger generation came to pay their respects to the heavenly astral king. After all, the heavenly astral king was a celestial noble. He had a high status in the Immortals' Cave and was a core member. Even Spider Rock and the others had smiles on their faces. In the future, they would all go to the Immortals' Cave and participate in the assessment. If they could befriend the heavenly astral king, it would be very beneficial for them. Many Saint Pearls accompanied the heavenly astral king. Each of them had witty words. Their backgrounds weren't small. They came from various powerful clans and were usually arrogant. They scoffed at the suitors of their generation. At this moment, they were all smiling brightly when facing the heavenly astral king. They seemed easy to get along with and frequently showed their advantages to the heavenly astral king. With the appearance of the heavenly astral king, the young talents of various clans have gathered here. I, Spider Rock, am very honored. Haha, if I have the opportunity to enter the Immortals' Cave in the future, don't forget me, Spider Rock, and guide me. Spider Rock had a high status in this group. He was a Daesung peak expert and had just been bestowed the title of king. He also came from the primordial god-fiend lineage. His status was also not to be underestimated. Spider Rock, you are too modest. The heavenly astral king smiled warmly. Who is the heavenly demon king of your clan? He won once in the immortal demon battlefield. He is truly powerful. I'm not as good as the heavenly demon king. Speaking of the heavenly demon king, this group of people all had solemn expressions. The heavenly demon king of the primordial godfiend clan was a well-deserved, peerless prodigy. He had once won in the immortal demon battlefield. Although he was slightly inferior to the heavenly king of the Starry Sky Emperor clan and the Xian people's Tianwu king. After all, there was a group of people who had won several times in the immortal demon battlefield. It was very limited and rare. Heavenly Astral King, in my opinion, you are the one who is modest. A budding young girl chuckled. The immortal demon battlefield is about to open. With your battle strength, it will not be difficult for you to win. When the time comes, your name will shake the immortal world. Don't forget me. A group of glamorous girls laughed along, making the atmosphere very lively. He, the heavenly astral king, was really like the moon surrounded by stars. He stood in the center, majestic and awe-inspiring. However, the heavenly astral king's brows were tightly knitted, and his heart was vexed. Spider Rock observed his expression and said coldly, "People from the lower domain run amok and rely on Tao protectors to support them. It is really too much. Now that you, the heavenly astral king, are here, they don't even dare to come out. This is the tragedy of the human world." Ingjia of the various races did not understand the human world, but who was the heavenly astral king? He was a noble of the heavens, and he had been entrenched outside the city for more than a month. He was also angry. Starry Night has already gone. He probably came out. If he really doesn't dare to come, the heavenly astral king said coldly, he can only leave temporarily. It is a pity that he returned empty-handed. It is a bit disappointing. Boom. Suddenly, waves of killing intent rippled out from outside the city. It swept through the vast rivers and mountains and finally rushed to this graveyard. Heaven and earth resonated as a terrifying figure leaped over. His long black hair was scattered. Suyan's figure was tall and strong. He held a golden lightning blade that flowed with a terrifying lightning glow. Little Thunder's weapon. The heavenly astral king rose from the ground with great heavenly might. His entire person seemed to be valiant and peerless. His pair of silver eyes flourished with divine light as he said coldly, "He is finally here." This place was in chaos. Su Yin had arrived and directly crossed over here. His posture was rather tyrannical. The women around the heavenly astral king were very calm. They all looked around and did not look at Su Yin directly. With the heavenly astral king standing here, what could a local tyrant from the lower domain do? "Since you've come all the way here, how can I not accompany you?" Su Yin held the golden thunder saber. His divine eyes were like lightning as he said coldly, "I heard that you want to take my head. I also have the same intention." Ha ha ha. The heavenly astral king looked up to the sky and laughed. His silver eyes glowed brightly, as if they had turned into two cosmic stars that were rumbling and rotating, causing the entire graveyard to tremble. "Su Yin, how arrogant of you." Spider Rock sneered and said, "You are still so domineering even in front of the heavenly astral king. Do you really think you are invincible in the immortal world? This is the heaven's equal saint king who has been hiding for a month. He is really shameless." What a joke. Who is the heavenly astral king? He said he wants to take the heavenly astral king's head. Did I hear wrongly? Some people spoke one after another with sarcastic words and couldn't help but laugh. This person is too arrogant. The heavenly astral king should suppress him and teach him a lesson. A group of women who were trying their best to curry favor with the heavenly astral king also said as they looked at Su Yin with disdain. Where did Starry Night go? The heavenly astral king was not in a hurry. He said calmly, "Since you want to avenge my sister, I think we should wait until Starry Night comes first. There is no need to wait. She's being punished in the city." Su Yin replied and said indifferently, "Disrespect to a noble. 20 strokes. She should not be far from death." As soon as he said this, the entire graveyard world fell into an eerie silence. Dead? Starry Night is dead? Spider Rock and the others did not react. Then, they felt that Su Yin was joking. In the next moment, a large group of experts from the distant world came to watch the battle. They were discussing along the way. The heavenly astral king had sharp ears and eyes. He instantly saw through their conversation. He was furious. His aura was infinitely terrifying and erupted endlessly. Boom! Even the sky was trembling. Stars were about to fall from the sky. Groups of cultivators who were trying to curry favor with the heavenly astral king were sent flying. They fell hard in the distance, trembling. Spider Rock was terrified. Starry Night was being hit 20 times. Was it true? It was true. Who would dare to do this? What courage did Su Yin have to hit a member of the Emperor clan 20 times in the capital? Starry Night, the heavenly astral king's face was ashen. He crossed rivers and mountains in an instant and headed toward the capital. Su Yin could not care less. "Heavenly astral king, I'm here to kill you. Stay." Su Yin held the golden thunderblade and appeared in front of the heavenly astral king, blocking his path. "Get lost." The heavenly astral king was furious. Behind him, a Dharma idol rose from the ground and stood in the starry sky, looking down on everything. "Oh my God!" The experts who had come to spectate cried out in surprise. The heavenly astral king's Dharma projection was too majestic. The great stars in the sky also fell uniformly and revolved around the giant Dharma projection, setting it off as if it was the king of the starry sky. The giant silver foot rose like an invincible heavenly king, suppressing the starry sky. The sky trembled and the mountains shook. It covered the sky and the earth as it charged towards Su Yin. The terrifying attack was like the howling of an emperor. The Dharma idol was terrifying. It was huge and contained unparalleled power as it came crashing down. It hasn't started yet, but it's already over. A woman's expression was cold as she said, "The heavenly astral king said just now that he wanted to fight with Su Yin at the same level and make him admit defeat. However, Su Yin is courting death. He even dares to target Starry Night. He dares to anger a heavenly noble. I admire his courage." There was also a woman who was very direct and mocked. "Wait until he's suppressed. Let's see how arrogant he can be." The silver god was furious. It filled the starry sky and stepped on the earth, pressing towards Su Yin. However, No matter how powerful and extraordinary this kick was, it could not completely cover Su Yan's figure. The golden thunderblade in Su Yan's hand shone, vaguely sputtering out the power of the heaven-opening thunder scripture. He said coldly, "You came to find me. How can I not kill you?" In an instant, the golden thunderblade blazed. The blade light was tens of thousands of feet long. The gold was resplendent, as if a boundless tribulation had struck out. Slash! Su Yan roared. His aura was extremely terrifying. This blade split open the entire sky and drowned out the world. It was accompanied by the sound of thunder from the nine heavens. The brilliance was terrifying. The silver figure that filled the starry sky was instantly slashed apart by this peerless blade. From head to toe, it was blasted into ashes. Chapter 1880. The heavenly blade cut across the sky, splitting the heavens and shattering the stars. The golden blade light was dazzling. It was like a blade that cut through the heavens, splitting time and space. A huge crack appeared in the heavens and the earth. Lightning fell from the sky, creating a dazzling rain of great Tao light. Even the immortal Tao was split open. This blade was terrifying beyond compare. The huge silver Dharma that looked down on everything in the sky exploded and turned into ashes. Su Yan withdrew his golden lightning saber after slashing out with his saber. The next moment, the world was filled with rolling thunder. The blade light that tore through the heavens and earth fell, turning into a sea of lightning. It was like a storm that shook the vast earth. The group of young men and women who were originally mocking Su Yan all shut their mouths. All of them widened their eyes as they stared at the destroyed Dharma idol and the saber rays that filled the sky. They were speechless. The experts who came to watch thought they were witnessing a shocking battle. In the end, Su Yan stunned them with his attack. It was hard to imagine that this was a peerless attack from a young expert who had just stepped into the Daesong realm. The heavenly blade cuts off the road had torn apart the Dharma true body. It was too shocking. This was extremely crazy. It was unknown just how many people sucked in a cold breath of air, their bodies staggering, almost unable to stand still. Crack! At this time, the heavenly astral king's body that was about to cross to the royal city suddenly cracked. A crack ran from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. It seemed that the first blade had also split him into pieces. Everyone trembled. What was this? A heavenly noble was almost split alive by Su Yan. Many people were trembling. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Their hearts were filled with fear and even endless respect. Was the heavens equal Saint King on par with heavenly experts or the immortal world? How is this possible? The heavenly astral king's followers were shaking. Their legs were weak, and some of them didn't listen to their commands. They couldn't stand properly. Their master was going to be defeated. This scene was too unreal. They had been waiting outside the city for Su Yan for more than a month. In the end, they were almost killed by Su Yan with one strike. In the blink of an eye, the heavenly astral king roared at the sky. His blood-stained body was blazing brilliantly as he truly transformed into a great star in the universe, gushing with the essence of the starry skies. His blade wounds were recovering, and his bodily functions erupted. He suddenly became a great deal more terrifying. No, Heavenly Astral King didn't use his full strength just now. Someone saw the problem, but in the next moment, his entire body trembled. Could it be that the Heavenly Astral King, who was at the same level as Su Yan, was unable to suppress Su Yan and had to use his strongest battle prowess? You've angered me. The Heavenly Astral King angrily roared. His tall and valiant body seemed to bear the weight of the starry sky. All the pores on his body gushed with the radiance of the galaxy, containing the rotation of the great stars of the universe. His aura immediately turned berserk. Boom! The heavens trembled. Great stars filled the sky. This was a real scene. There really were countless great stars arranged in the sky, formed by the interweaving of endless laws of order. The Heavenly Astral King came from an emperor race in the starry skies. His physique was very powerful and extraordinary, and he was a generation's heavenly astral body. Legend had it that when this physique was tempered to great success, it would also transform into an indestructible star that could bombard all enemies of the same generation in the world. At this moment, the heavenly astral king opened up his ancient physique as if he had transformed into a silver giant star. The starry sky behind him lay horizontally, and the stars danced chaotically. Following the heavenly astral king, he began to go berserk. Kill! The heavenly astral king struck horizontally with his ferocious fist aura. The great stars in the sky revolved, arranged, and rotated as if he had struck out with an ancient sea of stars. The fist aura was grand and shocking, covering the entire graveyard world. Although Su Yan's cultivation wasn't at the peak of Daesong, he was extremely valiant. The time Dao Stone had fulfilled Su Yan's needs, and the strongest physique in the human world, the Heaven Burial physique, was perfected. Once it erupted, the golden chi and blood spread, suppressing everything. Boom! This strike was earth-shattering, and all the graveyards were trembling. The two great experts fought together, and it was even more serious than the collapse of the starry skies. The destructive power was endless. There was also a large patch of blood rain. Under the shocked eyes of the people, they saw Su Yan's tyrannical and overbearing power. The great stars in the universe that filled the sky were crushed by the golden aura. The terrifying fist aura erupted, and with a rumble, it caused the heavenly astral king's arm to bend. His arm almost exploded. His hair was disheveled, and his body was covered in blood. If it wasn't for the heavenly astral body erupting at the crucial moment and the boundless strength of his physique, he wouldn't even be able to withstand a single strike from Su Yan. The bloody reality was very cruel. Su Yan's physical body was too strong. The heavenly astral king and Su Yan were destined to fight in close combat, and it was destined to be a tragedy. Heavens, how is this possible? The world was filled with cries of alarm. In the world of blood, the heavenly astral king was forced to retreat step by step. His body was constantly ruptured, and there was an ending where he was pierced by Su Yan. Su Yan's attacks were ferocious, and his moves were bold. His head of disheveled hair danced in the wind. It was as if he had been possessed by the human emperor, and he had transformed into a saint emperor. He had the lofty aspiration to swallow the rivers and mountains, and he had the belief to break through and become invincible. If he couldn't even kill a puny heavenly astral king, how could he be invincible in the world? How could he compete for the immortal devil battlefield? And how could he be victorious in all three battles? Kill! Su Yan roared again. His physical body's combat power was completely unsealed. From afar, the sky was filled with golden chi and blood that soared into the heavens, covering the graveyard world. It was majestic and grand. Roar! The heavenly astral king roared. His strongest combat power circulated wildly, and his physical strength soared to the extreme. Vast chanting sounds were transmitted from his body, and his Dharma, idol true body gathered again. This time, he used a shocking, remarkable ability. The Dharma idol behind him merged with the heavenly astral king in an instant. The strongest power flowed in his body, and the shattered stars in the heavens gathered again, evolving into the world of stars. 10,000 Dharma heavens. The heavenly astral king's eyes widened in anger. He used his most invincible power, and his body merged with the starry sky outside the realm, as if he had transformed into a huge life form. His power was especially terrifying, and the entire world trembled and collapsed. Self-formed starry sky, I am invincible, the heavenly astral king chanted sutras. It could be said that he had fallen into a state of madness. The stars in the sky suddenly covered him, resonating with his body. It was as if they had disappeared, outlining a vast starry sky that was boundless. The heavenly astral king commanded the starry sky of the immortal world to kill Su Yan. Boom! In an instant, golden chi and blood surged, and the power of the 10,000 worlds filled the sky. Wisps of invincible aura spread out. The peak of the sky was like a seed of the great Tao that had scattered down, taking root in the void. It evolved into 10,000 universes and instantly covered the entire battlefield. The Daesong in the sky were shocked. What kind of technique was this? What kind of power was this? It was too domineering. The 10,000 universes filled the sky, and the experts who were watching felt great waves in their hearts. It was as if an emperor was howling. How could an expert of the same generation be invincible and fight for supremacy? It was too unimaginable. The world exploded, and the stars in the heavens fell. It was as if a great disaster had swept across the battlefield. It was extremely domineering, and it was so easy to push through dry weeds, tearing the entire ancient starry sky apart. Boom! In the end, Su Yan's fist exploded and the 10,000 mountains resonated. It hit the heavenly astral king's true body until it trembled violently. Blood spilled out of the pores all over his body, and a crack appeared on his chest, almost penetrating his back. Puff! He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. His body and mind were torn apart, and his heart was almost shattered. His vitality was greatly damaged. The core prodigy of the immortal cave is nothing more than this. Su Yan's steps were steady as he closed in on the heavenly astral king step by step. He was so brilliant that the surrounding spectators couldn't help but look up. What kind of god of war was this? A heavenly noble had personally taken action to suppress Su Yan, but in the end, he was directly crushed. Was the disparity in strength really so great? Could Su Yan be ranked among the peerless prodigies? Kill! The heavenly astral king roared. There was no way back. At this point, there was no way back. Even if he survived, he would be expelled from the immortal cave. After all, he had been defeated too miserably. The heavens and the starry sky shall be mine alone. The heavenly astral king turned into the god of the starry sky and activated an even more earth-shattering great divine ability. It was an invincible supreme art of the starry sky emperor race. It caused the starry sky to resonate with the 9 heavens, and the Milky Way came down from the temple and penetrated the heavenly astral king's body. His emperor blood was circulating, and his life essence was burning from the top of his head. Everyone was shocked. A heavenly noble had been forced into a desperate situation. He had released his strongest trump card and was already fighting with his life on the line. Was Su Yan really so powerful? Could it be that he was at the highest level of the heaven-burying cave and was qualified to compete with the peerless prodigies of the immortal cave? They had to recognize the reality now. This was an invincible king, Overlord, charging into the battlefield. No matter how big the starry sky was, no matter how grand and ancient the world that the heavenly astral king had created was, everything was trembling, boundless oppressive power was born. There was no law, no order, and no divine ability light. Everything originated from Su Yan's flesh and blood. It was as if he had turned into a heaven-suppressing king, which made some of the emperors a little shocked. The pressure was too fierce. Even the powerful emperors felt suffocated and had a feeling that they were unable to resist. What kind of divine ability was this? What kind of supreme art was this? Su Yan had a great spirit and released the heaven-suppressing art. This was the true invincibility, looking down on everything and suppressing everything. So what if it was the supreme art of the starry sky emperor race? The vast starry sky was trembling, caving in, and distorting. Su Yan, who was in the Daesong realm, had activated the heaven-suppressing art to the peak. Even the sky was covered, let alone the path of the starry sky. It was crushed into pieces. Boom! Su Yan waved his fist and hit the heavenly astral king. The heavenly astral king resisted with all his might. In fact, he was very powerless now. The fist that he waved was shattered by Su Yan, and even his arm was shattered. What kind of divine ability is this? The heavenly astral king was terrified. The invincible supreme art of the emperor race could not suppress the heaven-suppressing art. Moreover, the heavenly astral king had mastered more than 10 great divine abilities, but now he did not have the strength to activate them. His entire body was suppressed by the heaven-suppressing art. Roar! He roared and tried to use all his trump cards to break the situation, but it was useless. The heavenly astral king was equivalent to carrying the eternal heavens. He could not break it, and could only be reduced to the fate of being suppressed. Boom! Su Yin punched again with an irresistible force, causing half of the heavenly astral king's body to collapse. In the end, the sole of his foot rose and stepped on the heavenly astral king's broken body in an instant. No matter how he struggled and resisted, everything was meaningless. You've waited for me for more than a month, and this is all you have? Su Yin exerted force on the sole of his foot, trampling the heavenly astral king's broken body into pieces. Blood flowed like a stream. He said coldly, "You still dare to humiliate my senior brother's grave. Get over there and apologize, and I'll let you die more easily. Otherwise, I'll make you regret being born into this world." Chapter 1881. Su Yin stepped on the heavenly astral king's body and stood in the pool of blood. His eyes fell on the grave of the 21st generation disciple of the heaven-burying cave. He clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with a murderous aura. He came from the heaven-burying cave. Although he grew up in the celestial court, the heaven-burying cave was his root. Any grudges would be borne by him. The heavenly astral king came from the starry sky emperor race, and was also a top figure of the younger generation. It was most appropriate to kill him in front of the grave of the 21st senior brother. Su Yin, the heavenly astral king's hair was disheveled as he struggled in pain. He was already crippled and almost exploded by Su Yin. The heavenly astral king didn't dare to imagine such a huge disparity in combat strength. Without a doubt, unless the strongest generation of the heaven-burying cave made a move, no one could match him. The heavenly astral king was defeated by Su Yin's fist. How could this be? Some of the girls who were friendly to him before were trembling. This was a noble of a generation. From the beginning of the battle until now, he was completely crushed and could explode at any time. In fact, the facts prove that the heavenly astral king's potential was not as good as Little Thunder's. This also indirectly showed that the Tenrai of Beach was very strong. The heaven's pride of the heaven-burying cave was also very strong. The crowd lost their composure and looked up at Su Yan's figure. This was an unparalleled heavenly king, so powerful that it made them feel suffocated. Especially the Spider Rock and the group of Daesung who had made things difficult for Su Yin in the Fortune Ground. They were all scared. This grudge was too big. Back then, they were against Su Yin in the Fortune Ground. But now, Su Yin and the Daesung were simply invincible. Some people suspected that Su Yin had a shocking foundation. Otherwise, he wouldn't be standing in this terrifying realm right after breaking through. This also showed that Su Yin had the qualifications to compete for the top 10 candidates of the Great Immortal Demon War. Perhaps it was really possible. As long as the heaven's pride of the past generations in the heaven-burying cave didn't come out in large numbers, then Su Yin really had a great chance to compete for the immortal demon battlefield. I refuse to accept this. The heavenly astral king roared, and his ruined body ignited with a bang. His frontal bone was resplendent, and 3 great imprints appeared. They pierced through the peak of the firmament and drew down the vast universe's origin to kill, wanting to reverse the battle situation. The noble imprint exploded, and the heavenly astral imprint was awakened. The skies seemed to have cracked open, and the energy that flowed down was even more turbulent than the ocean. It pressed down from all directions, engulfing Su Yin. "You still dare to attack me? You're courting death." Su Yan's eyes widened. At this moment, he was no longer calm, for great titles appeared between his eyebrows, piercing through the peak of the sea of stars. The words "Heavens equals Sage King" appeared almost instantly. Boom! Outside King City, 2 great glorious imprints were released, rushing into the heavens. Moreover, they interweaved and clashed. The clash between Heaven's equal Saint Monarch and the heavenly Astral Monarch seal attracted the attention of all the big shots in the city. When their eyes gathered outside the city and saw the resplendent and glorious sky, their expressions all changed. Oh my God, this title! The group of old emperors couldn't stay calm. What exactly was Su Yan's title on par with? Heaven's equal Saint Monarch was theoretically on par with the heavens. However, the scene that appeared now had a great impact on them. They allowed the heavenly astral monarch's title to shine and shine. In short, Suyan's title was more powerful. The aura of the king of saints poured down. Moreover, when the words heaven's equal shone brightly, the heavens resonated with millions of auspicious clouds, and dragons and phoenixes competed in splendor. It was as if the door to the celestial world had opened, and an unparalleled majesty pressed down. It was as if the celestial worlds had descended. Boom! Auspicious chi bloomed all over the sky, surging violently and bursting out one after another. The suppressive force changed the color of the rivers and mountains, and the sun and moon sank. It was just a title, but it swept through the entire ancient universe, accompanied by an unparalleled oppressive aura. Everyone was trembling, and they all wanted to kneel on the ground and worship. The heavenly astral monarch was petrified. He pointed at the title. How could this be? The titles of the heavens were supreme. Although he admitted that they could not compare to the titles of people like the heavenly martial monarch, they were not that far off. However, Suyan's title was too glorious. It was as if the celestial world had appeared. The radiance overflowed, and the aura was unparalleled. It was even more frightening than an emperor going berserk. It swept through the vast rivers and mountains, and the suppression of the heavenly astral monarch's title imprint disintegrated. The heavenly astral monarch trembled. How could this be? There was a big problem with his title. It was very strange. Kneel down and apologize. Suyan's divine might was awe-inspiring. He looked down at the heavenly astral monarch from above and said coldly, "Otherwise, I will make you regret being born into this world." Plop! The heavenly astral monarch's body trembled. His knees were bending, and he really wanted to kneel down and worship. At the crucial moment, the arch blood in his body awakened and transmitted a terrifying resistance, which stimulated the heavenly astral monarch to go crazy. He was a member of the arch race and had grown up in a glorious race. How could he kneel down and worship Suyan? How could he kneel down and worship an expert who had been dead for a long time? Buzz! The heavenly astral monarch's forehead opened wide, as if a silver vertical eye had opened. A layer of dazzling silver divine light burst out, accompanied by an ancient aura and a forbidden radiance. This was a string of divine pearls flying out. They were silvery white and bright, and were woven from tens of thousands of tiny silver stars like sand. Not good. It's the heavenly astral pearl. Xiongba's expression changed slightly. This was the inherited treasure of the starry sky, the arch race. There were strong and weak heavenly astral pearls. Legend had it that the starry sky, the arch race's most terrifying heavenly astral pearl, was woven from trillions of ancient stars in the universe and had endless divine might. Kill! The heavenly astral monarch roared. His primordial spirit revived and grasped the heavenly astral pearl. The sky rumbled. The heavenly astral pearl woven from tens of thousands of stars danced. It was as if the entire starry sky was dancing as it suppressed Suyan. This was a set of forbidden artifacts. When the heavenly astral monarch was conferred the title of celestial monarch, the upper echelons of the starry sky, the arch race, had bestowed him with a great origin. In an instant, heaven and earth trembled. The forbidden radiance was like a tsunami. Tens of thousands of tiny stars enlarged. Each of them was silvery white and blazing. They turned into tens of thousands of great stars in the universe, surrounded by the forbidden radiance. In an instant, they attacked Suyan. Boom! The outside of the royal city trembled violently. The order of heaven and earth collapsed. The awakening of this treasure was too frightening. It had evolved into a forbidden world of killing. Tens of thousands of great stars resonated. One move was enough to kill a pinnacle expert, but Suyan had nothing to fear. The heavenly astral pearl had just attacked, and the furnace of suppression floating in his heart suddenly awakened. It almost sucked Suyan's body essence dry. This was an immortal king weapon. It floated in Suyan's heart and slightly awakened. The 10,000 divine pearls trembled violently, showing signs of being crushed and collapsing. The heavenly astral monarch's expression changed drastically. His primordial spirit returned to his broken body and wanted to escape the battlefield. But he didn't have any chance. Although Su Yan's physical body was exhausted, his primordial spirit left his body and sat cross-legged on the red lotus platform. This battlefield was a little blurry and turned into a vast red country. "Let's go!" The saints were terrified. Their primordial spirits showed signs of dissolving. Some people felt that their primordial spirits were imprisoned in the divine furnace and were being refined by a terrifying natural disaster. What kind of secret technique was this? It made the whole world change color. The red country covered heaven and earth, including the heavenly astral king's primordial spirit. The heavenly astral king wailed miserably. His primordial spirit was melting. He shouted in despair. "Red lotus karmic fire, 3 disasters secret technique, 3 disasters secret technique." How could the heavenly astral king not know the origin of this secret technique? He had seen it in the royal city's treasure vault. This secret technique had already become a legend. He didn't expect someone to be able to cultivate it and master the power of the red lotus karmic fire. Even if cultivating the 3 disasters secret technique depended on what kind of strange item was used. The red lotus karmic fire was definitely the most powerful strange item. Once it was used, gods and devils would be crushed and turned into ashes. Bang! The heavenly astral king's primordial spirit collapsed and exploded, turning into ashes. Su Yan took out the immortal slaying sword. The golden sword body hit the heavenly astral bead, causing this set of treasures to tremble. It gradually returned to silence and quickly fell into Su Yan's palm. At the same time, Su Yan reached out and grabbed a purple space-time secret palace from the heavenly astral king's body. After doing all this, he lifted his leg and kicked the heavenly astral king's body away. He fell in front of the 21st senior brother's grave and kowtowed in apology. In the next moment, the heavenly astral king's body burned on its own and turned into ashes, drifting between heaven and earth. From now on, there was no more heavenly astral king in this world. Dead. Many people felt like they were dreaming. The heavenly astral king was dead. He was killed by Su Yan directly and turned into ashes. Before they could recover from their shock, Su Yan's hand suddenly reached out. He didn't use his weak physical strength. Just the power of a noble title suppressed the vast universe's origin power. It was already shocking enough. Puffed, Spider Rock and the others screamed. These Daesong had once made things difficult for him in the land of fortune. With the heavenly astral king belittling himself, how could Su Yan let them off so easily? "Mercy, heaven's equal saint king, we know our mistakes. Please have mercy." This group of Daesong was so scared that they felt cold all over. Some of them couldn't take it anymore and fell to the ground. Although they were also nobles, Su Yan's title was too powerful. It was difficult for them to be invincible and resist. From this point, it was enough to show the benefits of a title. Even if Su Yan was in the Daesong realm, he could rely on the power of a title to fight against an Emperor realm expert. How could this group of Daesong resist? Along the way, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Spider Rock and the others screamed in pain. In particular, Spider Rock's huge and ferocious spider body was trembling. Large cracks appeared on the surface of its body. Spider Rock was terrified. It caught the killing intent and chilled to the bone. Several Daesong lowered their arrogant heads and apologized loudly. The heavenly astral king had already been turned into ashes. What else could they not lower their heads for? They were already burning incense to save their lives. If we weren't outside the royal city and didn't want to cause trouble for the guardian, you would all be corpses now. Su Yan said coldly, "All of you get lost. If there's a next time, you'll be killed without mercy." "Thank you for your mercy, heaven's equal saint king." The group of Daesong fled in panic as far as they could. However, Spider Rock couldn't move. Its face was ashen. Su Yan wouldn't let it go. The sky was filled with the killing intent of the immortal world. "What are you doing?" Spider Rock trembled. It didn't want to die without knowing what was going on. It also didn't think that a ruthless scum who killed the heavenly astral king wouldn't dare to kill it. It didn't dare to be disrespectful in its words. It said fearfully, "There's a grudge between us, but it's not to the point of taking my life, right? You piece of trash, killing you would dirty my hands." With a cold shout, golden ripples rolled between heaven and earth. They pressed down on Spider Rock's body from all directions and sent it flying. "And you guys, don't say that I bullied you. I'll give you a chance to call for help. By the way, tell the Tenrai of Beach that I won't be able to leave the royal city on Starry Night. I'll be waiting for you here. All of you get lost." A large number of young cultivators who came with the heavenly astral king were sent flying. The void bloomed with bloody light. This group of people disappeared at the end of the horizon, leaving behind a beautiful bloody rain of light. Chapter 1882. The whole place was dead silent. This was a shocking result. He had killed a heavenly noble and forced a group of Daesong kings to apologize and flee in panic. They were unwilling to face him. Su Yin stood between heaven and earth, his whole body shining with boundless light that illuminated heaven and earth. He gave him a chance to call for reinforcements, which was equivalent to issuing a challenge to the Tenrai of Beach. Many people's blood boiled as their emotions surged. There was an indescribable, heroic feeling in their hearts that resonated with Su Yan's might. Some people even shouted, "Invincible! Heaven's equal Saint King is invincible!" Heaven and earth trembled as beams of light filled the sky. Su Yin was indomitable and could be called the King of Saints. He overlooked the boundless universe and emitted an invincible belief that suppressed all living things. What kind of terrifying courage was this? At this moment, Su Yin was at the peak of his glory and filled with an invincible might. He dares to directly declare war on the Tenrai of Beach. This is truly an invincible belief. Some people exclaimed as they captured Su Yan's spirit. His invincible belief suppressed the heaven and earth and swept through the 6 directions. The heavenly astral king is a heavenly noble after all. In the end, he was crushed into ashes by the heaven's equal saint king. This undoubtedly shows that Su Yan's combat strength is too extraordinary. He is going to join the ranks of the top geniuses of the immortal world and look down on all his peers. Yes, such existences in the past all have unparalleled heavenly might. Why would they fear the Ingji of the world? The commotion caused by this matter was too shocking. Many old emperors were fiercely discussing this matter, and they felt uncomfortable if they didn't speak up. No one would question the title of king, and no one would question the strength of a heavenly noble. Such kings in the past all had invincible divine might that swept through their peers. However, Su Yin had defeated the heavenly astral king. This battle directly established his glorious battle strength as an invincible saint. Directly challenging the Tenrai of Beach, isn't Su Yin too confident? The Tenrai of Beach is an unparalleled genius of the immortal cave, comparable to the past geniuses of the immortal demon battlefield. Some people whispered, feeling that Su Yin was going to suffer a great loss. Su Yin had only defeated a heavenly astral king who had just advanced a few years ago. It was not a good thing to have such confidence. In the cheering world, some people looked on coldly. Some old emperors laughed and said, "This young man doesn't know how to restrain himself. He can't wait to defeat the heavenly Thunder King and become the most dazzling star in the immortal realm. He is taking too big a step." They admitted that Su Yin was strong, but he had only been in the great sage realm for a few days. After all, the immortal realm was a place with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. If he did not restrain himself, he would most likely bring about a great disaster. In any case, Su Yin had defeated the heavenly astral king, causing more and more waves. In just a few days, the 100 ancient worlds were in turmoil. The heavenly astral king had been killed outside the royal city. This also indicated that a bright new star was rising in the immortal world. The core genius of the immortal cave was killed. The heavenly astral king from the Emperor clan in the starry sky was killed. Many sects were shocked, and the higher-ups were discussing. When they learned that Su Yin had provoked the Xian people and even suppressed the Starry Night, their faces darkened. This was a disaster. Once they brought in the clans, they would provoke the Emperor clan. They immediately gave up the idea of recruiting Su Yin. Let's go to the royal city and see how strong the heavens equal Saint King is, who said he wanted to challenge the Tenrai of Beach. The wind and clouds were surging. The top young talents of his sex all rushed to the royal city. Su Yin had been entrenched outside the city. He was like a great demon god who illuminated the world. He held the golden thunder saber and searched for strong enemies. Su Yin no longer hid his strength. His combat strength was always at its peak. Heroes of the meeting. This boy's conviction is so strong. The top figures of the younger generation were moved. They felt a great pressure spreading toward them and suppressing them. It's not just conviction. His strength is terrifying. I can't believe he just stepped into the Daesong realm. A young genius whispered. He didn't get close to Su Yin. He stood in the distance and watched. Would the Tenrai of Beach come? There were also those who came because of his fame. They wanted to challenge Su Yin. It wasn't a fight to the death. The saint son of the great domain sect was defeated. Although he's not a celestial noble, he's still the saint son of a prosperous sect. He's been at the peak of the Daesong realm for tens of thousands of years. Yet, he lost to Su Yin in 3 rounds. The extraordinary woman of the 10,000 Swords Mountain was defeated. What kind of sword technique did Su Yin use? She couldn't even block one move. This is unbelievable. Days passed. The storm outside the royal city raged. More and more Ingjia from various races gathered here. 5 experts challenged Su Yin one after another, but they were all defeated. Su Yin's divine might became stronger and stronger. He looked down on a vast starry sky and refused no challengers. He became stronger and stronger as he fought. The popularity he accumulated also became more and more shocking. He defeated the top experts of the various sections. He won all 10 battles. In the end, even a terrifying freak from the Daesong realm was defeated. Fighting with him was like facing a flourishing universe or an eternal abyss. The whole world was shaken. This was an extremely terrifying genius who had once swept through dozens of ancient worlds. In the end, he said that only immortals could fight with him. The storm he caused was too shocking. Perhaps he really is qualified to challenge the Tenrai of Beach. The immortal world will most likely give birth to an incredible Overlord. He'll be qualified to compete for one of the top 10 spots in the immortal devil battlefield. These words seem to be filled with magic. The influence was too great, affecting the 3,000 ancient worlds of the immortal world. It had to be said that this was quite a terrifying person. The name of the heavens equal sage king spread throughout the 3,000 ancient worlds of the immortal world. However, the immortal world was so vast. Only the winner of the immortal devil battlefield had the right to spread his name throughout the immortal world and become a household name. It had been almost a month, but Su Yin still hadn't seen the immortal cave's peerless genius. Xiongba was shocked. Where did Su Yin get his confidence from? He caused such a huge storm. It was obvious that he was forcing the immortal cave's peerless genius to appear. He was eager to fight with him. The Qian Kuan elders didn't know that Su Yin was here for the immortal devil battlefield. Only those who were strong enough were qualified to participate in the immortal devil battlefield. Only then would they be qualified to open a shortcut to the immortal king realm. After all, there were only 10 spots. The storm in the royal city was incessant. It felt as if a storm was coming. On this day, the atmosphere in the royal city universe was slightly oppressive. Su Yin, who was entrenched outside the city, also keenly sensed it. He seemed to have been targeted by some terrifying creature, which made him anxious. This made Su Yin's heart tremble. Could it be that an immortal king had come? He had the furnace of suppression protecting him. Even a taboo expert couldn't make things difficult or oppress him. Something's not right. Night fell. Xiongba was also slightly flustered. He felt that a terrifying giant was lying in wait near the royal city universe. As expected, in the latter half of the night, the sky faintly trembled. The vast ancient world universe changed color. It was as if an endless source of chi and blood covered the heaven and earth. The person hadn't arrived yet. Just the vague aura alone made the atmosphere in the royal city extremely tense. Suddenly, an old expert whose cultivation reached the heavens seemed to see a terrifying figure standing outside the royal city universe. His might shook the universe and the starry sky. He emitted a shocking immortal might that could swallow the long river of time. What a terrifying existence. They were all terrified. They hadn't even seen the person, but they were already in despair. One could imagine how terrifying the giant entrenched outside the royal city was. It might even be an immortal king. The heavenly astral king had been killed, and the jail king had suffered a crushing defeat. Would the Xian people and the Starry Sky Emperor race really let this go? Would they really watch as Su Yin gained enough prestige? Xiongba extended a large claw and brought Su Yin into the city. There were guardians in Monarch City. The impact of defeating the prison king was even more terrifying. Even if the two emperor clans were unwilling to accept this, they did not dare to attack Su Yin in the dark and kill him with the Phoenix King in charge. The experts who understood the Phoenix King knew his temper very well. If they really dared to kill a terrifying noble right under his nose, it would definitely cause chaos in the celestial world. He was no longer the Phoenix King who had been severely injured. For several days, Su Yin didn't leave his house. Every night, the royal city was very restless. There was already murderous aura leaking out. It was obvious that the people who came were about to lose their patience. Was there going to be another immortal king battle? Boom! 7 days later, on a huge mountain in the Elder's compound, a brilliant light soared, accompanied by the terrifying aura of a metal life form. It's almost done. Valkai and the others cried out in alarm. The heavenly craft furnace stopped operating. Countless precious materials had already melted, filling the sky with divinity and immortal splendor, penetrating into the human-shaped puppet. The puppet that the prehistoric Big Brother called exceptionally hard to find suddenly rushed out from the heavenly craft furnace. A tall bronze figure, brimming with the power to destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth, surged with waves of 10,000 zhong, slapping the heavens and shaking the stars. Su Yin faced the sky and laughed. The human-shaped puppet was repaired, like a terrifying emperor, lord immortal demon, peerless and powerful. Once it merged with Su Yan's body, it made him seem extremely powerful. Xiongba was shocked. This puppet's potential was extremely shocking. Once Su Yin controlled it, it would give him extremely powerful strength when combined with the celestial world's source of killing power. This puppet could even evolve towards the next realm. However, the materials required were rather harsh. Su Yin had spent hundreds of thousands of kilograms of immortal sources and barely managed to gather half of them. If he really managed to gather all of them, he would need too much wealth, and Su Yin would not be able to satisfy him. However, this level of puppet was already enough for Su Yin to use. After all, his true battle strength was only Daesung, fifth heaven. The heavenly craft furnace shone continuously, and the remaining energy substances flowed out, continuing to nourish the puppet. It can actually grow stronger? Xiongba whispered. What an incredible puppet. Its potential is sky high. Moreover, the materials used to forge this puppet are peerless materials used to forge immortal king weapons. What kind of luck did Su Yin run into to be able to find this kind of puppet? During the process, Su Yin sat cross-legged in front of the heavenly craft furnace, his body constantly emitting life essence blood, entering the human-shaped puppet. The more he paid, the deeper the connection between him and the puppet. At this moment, news came from outside the city, and the Elder's compound was in an uproar, reporting, "There are 2 great attendants from Immortal Cave outside the city." A city guard came to report. "They are carrying the decree from Immortal Cave's Elder compound." Xiongba's face fell. The Tao Protector killed an expert from the Elder compound, so it should be an attendant from Immortal Old compound. Now, 2 great attendants from Immortal Old compound came, even bringing a decree. Could it be that they came to denounce him? The Elder compound was in chaos. Even though the 3 great elders were already executed, Many attendants still felt a headache, worried that King City's situation would change. Who should receive the decree? Xiongba's face fell slightly. They didn't come in from outside the city, putting on quite the airs. Could it be that they wanted the Phoenix King to go out and welcome them? Several guards hesitated for a moment, but couldn't find Su Yin in the crowd, so they spoke of Immortal Old Compound's attendants, specifically telling Su Yin to go out and receive the decree. So ostentatious, yet they still need to go out and welcome them. Bao Kai muttered. However, it could tell that Immortal Old Compound's attendant status wasn't small, already having large amounts of King City's Elder Compound's old cultivators come out. One has to understand that Immortal Old Compound's attendant status was only below Xian Elders. In terms of status, they were a bit more respected than Xiongba and the others. Chapter 1883. Immortal Elder Academy's two great attendants came. The younger generation's experts were all shocked. Even though they weren't immortal elders, the authority in their hands was still quite formidable. The experts of various clans walked out one after another to greet them, all of them overwhelmed with emotions. If they could establish a relationship with these attendants, it would be extremely important for a few great sections. The two attendants' auras were both extremely terrifying. The atmosphere outside King City was heavy and oppressive. Looking for Su Yin to receive the decree, could it be? Some people's minds trembled fiercely. Immortal Elder Academy's attendants brought a decree, so it was definitely an order from Immortal Elder Academy, and it was only directed at Su Yin alone. Some people felt that there were only two reasons. Su Yin blasted apart the Heavenly Astral King. This was not a small offense. Immortal Cave wanted to punish him. At the same time, Su Yan's potential might have attracted Immortal Elder Academy's attention. The purpose of this decree was to guide Su Yin to Immortal Cave. Both were possible. The older generation's expressions were all moved. If it was the latter, then that was incredible, directly sending two attendants. One could see just how much attention Immortal Cave paid to Su Yin. Qian Kuan elders went out to welcome them. The two attendants stood outside the city, clearly showing that they were putting on airs. They were also full of smiles, giving Immortal Foot Academy face. King City's great elder personally came out to welcome them. Where is Su Yin? Two figures sat in the primal chaos. One of them had eyes that burned like two divine lamps, full of great dignity. They felt a bit of displeasure towards Qian Kuan elders coming out to welcome them. What kind of status did they have? Even though Qian Kuan elders were experts on the same level as them, they were still subordinates of Immortal Palace. In the end, they were still followers under the Phoenix King. To put it bluntly, they were nothing more than servants. Two attendants from Immortal Cave came. Even if the Phoenix King didn't come out to welcome them, Tyrant Bear should have come out, right? After all, it was the Phoenix King's sworn brother, so it should have come out to welcome them. Qian Kuan elders clearly didn't think of this, nor did they think that their most primitive status would make the two attendants unhappy. However, Qian Kuan elders were King City's great elders, so what kind of weight did they have? Coming out to welcome Immortal Elder Academy's attendants was already giving them enough face. Su Yin is in seclusion and will need some time to come out. The Qian and Kuan elders replied. They also made an inviting gesture, allowing them to enter the capital. They had already set up a banquet in the elders' courtyard. No need. The old deacon with eyes like golden lamps shook his head and said calmly, "Ask Su Yin to come out directly. We have something important to ask him. We can't let him miss this opportunity." Su Yin is in seclusion in the Phoenix King's cave. I'm afraid the Phoenix King has something important to ask him. Deacons, please wait for a while. Qian and Kuan elders laughed, their hearts cold. Immortal Old Academy was Immortal Old Academy after all. Even these two attendants were so arrogant. The two great attendants' faces fell. A few days ago, an attendant from Immortal Old Academy fell. Even though the silver-robed attendant was in the wrong, Immortal Old Academy was still Immortal Old Academy in the end. No matter how powerful the Phoenix King was, it still couldn't directly kill a silver-robed attendant without Immortal Old Academy's approval. What is Su Yin? His arrogance is truly great. A man with a powerful aura walked out from behind the two great attendants. His temperament was noble beyond compare. He wore a violet gold crown on his head and a yellow robe on his body. His aura was divine and heroic, as if a terrifying emperor was standing between heaven and earth. Qian and Kuan elders' cold eyes looked at the young man who walked out. They had to admit that this youngster's appearance was impressive, but to flaunt his might in front of them, it was a bit lacking. However, this young man wasn't cowardly. In front of forbidden experts, he still maintained his graceful bearing. The long robe he wore fluttered about, and the world seemed to rumble with muffled thunder. Qianhong. Someone was shocked, calling out his name. Many people didn't understand him, and a few were shocked. This young emperor, with a powerful aura, was not an ordinary person. He used to be a core member of a mortal cave. Over the years, there were quite a few core members of a mortal cave. However, there were some who, because their potential was exhausted, were directly eliminated by a mortal cave. This Qianhong was also a powerful expert in the era of Saint Realm. Although he was eliminated because his potential wasn't enough, he still received a position in a Mortal Elder Academy. His identity and status were both extraordinary, and he had a certain background in a Mortal Elder Academy. The two great attendants came with a decree from a Mortal Elder Academy. How can we delay it? Qianhong's expression was cold, and his aura was also powerful. He coldly said, "Even if it's the Phoenix King, we can't delay it. Immediately have Su Yin come out to receive the decree. There can't be any delays." Qian and Kuan elders looked at each other and laughed at the same time. It's been many years since we've seen such a foolish junior. Wang. Qianhong's eyes widened, and a terrifying cold light flashed through them, cutting through the void. His personality was extremely unyielding, yet now he was directly called a foolish junior by Qian and Kuan elders. His expression suddenly changed, and a terrifying fluctuation spread from his body. What? Does this junior want to show off in front of us? Qian and Kuan elders laughed. They understood a mortal cave well, and also understood a Mortal Elder Academy well. In reality, this wasn't strange at all. Who told a Mortal Elder Academy to be established by the Immortal Realm's great emperor clans? Its authority was too great. Once one entered a Mortal Elder Academy, it was equivalent to reaching the pinnacle of authority in the Immortal Realm. Even a few small figures would be extremely arrogant. This region's atmosphere immediately became extremely oppressive. Qian and Kuan elders vaguely revived, covering the outside of King City with dark clouds. It was as if a boundless, flourishing world was blooming, covering the sky and covering the sun. Once a forbidden expert's anger was revealed, even the most exceptional Emperor Dao genius was nothing. Even breathing became difficult, and he almost fell onto the ground. Qianhong, who was always used to being flattered, rarely encountered this type of situation. Qian and Kuan elders, why is there a need to make things difficult for a junior? The attendant in the primal chaos spoke, releasing his aura, isolating Qianhong from the influence. The elder, whose eyes were like golden lamps, said with a heavy voice, "We came with a Mortal Elder Academy's decree, so we really can't delay it. I think this brat is scared." Qianhong suddenly sneered and said, "I heard that he is very insolent, and even wants to challenge the Tenrai of Beach. Two esteemed attendants, I think I should personally invite him over." Qianhong emphasized the word invite, and his expression was unkind. He looked at Qian and Kuan elders and said, "Do you two have any objections? Since Su Yin is in seclusion, I can at least go and invite him out, right? That's in accordance with the rules." The two attendants didn't wait for Qian and Kuan elders to respond. They had Qianhong go to King City's Elder Academy and bring Su Yin over. They also wanted to see for themselves just how powerful this junior who dared to challenge the Tenrai of Beach was. At this moment, the tempering of the heavenly craft furnace had already reached its end. A large amount of heavenly materials were smelted, and they gushed out from the heavenly craft furnace, penetrating into the humanoid puppet. The metallic life form aura emitted by this bronze puppet became more and more turbulent, and the entire puppet flashed with dense bronze patterns. It was as complex as the path of evolution of another universal civilization, filled with the power to turn something rotten into something magical. The uncanny craftsmanship forging technique contained the power of the uncanny craftsmanship heavenly craft. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and the more flaws were repaired, the more shocking the power of the puppet was. It was as if it could pierce through the heavens and shatter the order of heaven and earth. This was the ultimate strength that was infinitely close to the forbidden realm, and it made Xiong pale. What kind of puppet was this? The craftsmanship of the craftsmanship was so shocking that even someone as powerful as him couldn't see through it. Suyan's heart was heavy. In the human world of the past, the sky full of precious treasures withered with the destruction of the human world, and even the uncanny craftsmanship forging technique was lost. Overall, Suyan had only mastered the complete heaven-punishing sword Dao. As for the heaven-punishing Dao of reincarnation, although it was passed down to him by his prehistoric big brother, this secret technique was generally related to the reincarnation medicine in the underworld. Therefore, Suyan had never mastered the killing secret techniques related to the heaven-punishing Dao of reincarnation. In other words, Suyan had only mastered one of the heaven-punishing Dao of reincarnation. He didn't know if he would be able to obtain the heaven-punishing Dao of reincarnation in the upcoming trip to bury the heavens. Elder Xiongba, you are very knowledgeable. Do you know what the strongest divine ability of the immortal world is? Suyan suddenly asked. Xiongba was stunned. He scratched his head and pondered for a while. Then, he shook his head and said, "It's hard to say. There are too many divine abilities in the immortal world, and it depends on who has mastered them. However, there is one thing I can tell you. If a member of the monarch race in the immortal world has an Emperor Horoscope divine ability, you must not fight recklessly." Emperor Horoscope divine ability? Suyan was surprised. This was the first time he had heard of it. It is an Emperor Horoscope divine ability that is born from the supreme Emperor Dao law of a titled emperor. Xiongba said in a low voice, "Once it is used, it can summon the projection of a titled emperor. Don't you think it's scary? Is it also related to the special environment of the immortal world?" Suyan asked. Xiongba nodded. For example, Emperor Horoscope divine ability could summon the immortal world's divine ability to kill. This was also affected by the environment of the immortal world. The things involved were too complicated. Xiongba could explain it for 3 days and 3 nights. Suyan was silent. He agreed and disagreed at the same time. Otherwise, how could he explain the reincarnation emperor that he had seen back then? Even back then, the ancient celestial emperors of the celestial court had attacked the immortal world and forced the 2 emperor races to the brink of collapse. This meant that when you were strong enough and invincible, being titled or not was not important at all. Suyan was even more convinced that only the strongest person could walk the path of the strongest. One should not rely on the environment of the immortal world. Suyan, heaven's equal sage monarch, come out. All of a sudden, a godly voice swept across the elder courtyard. It was like a thunderclap, and the sound waves rolled like a torrent. It contained a powerful spiritual will that shook one's soul. The elder courtyard was in chaos. Who was yelling here? This was the solemn elder courtyard. Even the Phoenix King was sitting here. The people from the immortal cave are here. Xiongba spoke. This made Suyan's expression turn cold. Was the Tenrai of Beach here? Suyan's deep eyes focused on the man who had leaped into the elder's compound. His aura was relatively strong. He wore a purple gold crown on his head and a long yellow robe on his body. He had a divine might as he shouted loudly, "Come out. You are really arrogant. Come out and meet me immediately." Qianhong's aura was obviously different. After all, he was once a core member of the Immortal Cave. Now, he was an expert at the Emperor realm. He had a great heavenly might that reverberated throughout the Elder Courtyard. Impudent, Suyan was furious. He stood tall on the giant mountain and stared coldly at Qianhong. "How dare you behave so atrociously in the Elder Courtyard? How dare you shout? You're Suyan?" Qianhong's expression turned cold. He pointed at him and reprimanded. "I advise you to take back what you just said. Obediently go out of the city and receive the decree. Otherwise, you'll be destroying your own future. Chapter 1884. Xian Hong's might was awe-inspiring, and his words were like the rumbling of a great bell, echoing in the elder courtyard. He reprimanded directly with his hands behind his back, as if he was in control of Su Yan's future. His expression was rather arrogant. "You shameless boasting thing." Su Yan's eyes were cold as he said coldly, "Do you still remember your surname? I thought Starry Night was already rude and unreasonable enough, but I didn't expect you to be even more rude and unreasonable than her." Su Yan had a new understanding of the immortal cave and also increased his knowledge. It seemed like this immortal elder courtyard was really impressive, completely looking down on everything. Even an emperor dared to behave atrociously here. Bastard! Xian Hong was furious, and the space around him rumbled. His essence, energy, and spirit soared endlessly, and a vast aspect true body rose on his back. He shouted angrily, "You really have no respect for the law. I haven't asked you about Starry Night's matter, but just based on the fact that you restricted the freedom of the Immortal Cave's disciples, I'm enough to convict you." "Ha ha!" Su Yan looked up at the sky and laughed. "You idiot! Have you lived half your life as a dog? Convicting me as soon as you come. Do you think you're the master of the immortal world? Don't think too highly of yourself. Su Yan, you really have no respect for the law. Do you think you're worthy of joining the immortal cave? Stop dreaming." Xian Hong was already angry. He strode towards the giant mountain Su Yan was on, determined to teach him a lesson. "What immortal cave? I'm not interested." Su Yan snorted. "I can tell you clearly that I killed the heavenly astral king. Once Starry Night leaves the capital, I'll kill her directly. If you want to take her away, let the Tenrai of Beach step in." "Audacious, you really are audacious." Xian Hong roared angrily, and the heaven and earth rumbled along with it. His ferocious might was too great. On the way here, he had suppressed a ball of fire in his heart. The heavenly astral king had been blasted apart by Su Yan, but under the circumstances of a fair battle between the two, it was even the heavenly astral king who initiated the challenge first. If he died in King City, the immortal cave would not say anything. But who was the Tenrai of Beach? He was a peerless genius of the cave of the immortals. He represented the glory of the entire cave of the immortals. How could he personally come to the imperial city to ransom him? At this moment, Xian Hong had already reached the top of the giant mountain. His aura was becoming more and more frightening. The entire mountain was trembling and rumbling. A terrifying aura engulfed the peak of the giant mountain, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as it tried to suppress Su Yan. "How dare you!" Tyrant Bear's eyes flashed with a cold light as he shouted, "You junior, you dare to behave atrociously in front of my cave. I think you must have eaten a leopard's gall." After saying that, Xiongba extended a large claw from behind and wanted to suppress Xian Hong. "Su Yan, you coward! Can you only hide behind the strong?" Xian Hong was not afraid at all. He did not believe that the strong cultivators of the Elder Compound would dare to make things difficult for him. He shouted coldly, "If you are afraid of my imperial battle strength, I can suppress Daesong and fight with you." After all, Xian Hong was once a core genius of the Immortals Cave. Although his potential had been exhausted, his path on the imperial path was smooth. Even if he was suppressed to Daesong's domain, his cultivation was still there. He was enough to suppress Su Yan. "Elder Tyrant Bear, you don't have to do anything." Su Yan strode down the giant mountain and said at the same time, "I'll have to trouble Elder Tyrant Bear to increase my battle strength and make him accept his defeat wholeheartedly." The corner of Tyrant Bear's mouth flashed with a trace of an evil smile. He raised his hand and sent a wave of energy into Su Yan's body. In reality, it was just a useless gas. In reality, Su Yan's divine power was surging, and his aura was a lot more terrifying. This was the awakening of the human-shaped puppet. Su Yan seemed to have swallowed a mouthful of immortal devil. The immortal devil's divine power in his body surged and roared, vaguely tearing apart the order of heaven and earth of the immortal world. "You really don't have the slightest respect for the strong." Xian Hong laughed angrily. Do you think that just because you killed a few people, you're invincible under the heavens? Do you think that you have the qualifications to fight with me just because you were raised to the Imperial realm? Ha 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 ha. Suyin, you really disappoint me. Someone like you is worthy of being called a strong cultivator? Su Yin sneered, using the strong to suppress the weak. The people of the world respect the immortal old compound, not a group of people blindly shouting all day long. Do you understand? Su Yin, you are courting death. Qian Hong was furious. His Imperial realm battle strength surged as he shouted, I will teach you a lesson in place of the Tenrai of Beach. I will let you know that there is always someone better than you. In an instant, Qian Hong's entire body was suffused with holy radiance. The resplendent laws of order filled the sky, and during this process, thousands of laws of order appeared between heaven and earth. Imperial realm aura was released. Outside's body was heavy. Looking at the laws of order in the sky, it was as if he saw the universe nurturing a huge life form, full of terrifying heavenly might. This was an emperor. He could erupt with the power of heaven and earth at will, operating the laws of order of the immortal world to suppress powerful enemies. Suppress. Qian Hong's confidence was too great. His body didn't move half a step. His palm rose into the air, and the laws of the great Tao that filled the sky gathered in his palm, forming an ancient and huge palm. Boom! The entire mountain was covered by the huge palm, and it turned into a five-fingered mountain. Thousands of Tao techniques rumbled. He wanted to suppress Su Yin with a single palm and humiliate him. Dong! Su Yin stepped forward, and his clothes fluttered. The power of the human-shaped puppet had already stimulated Su Yan's physical body to a large extent. At this moment, he no longer suppressed it. His body was fully awakened, and blood rushed into the sky. The process was quite terrifying. The various experts in the Elder Council paled. Heaven and earth were distorted and trembling, and the laws of the great Tao that came down from the sky were collapsing. What kind of power was this? It was too extraordinary and ridiculous. It was almost beyond the Imperial realm. Xiongba was quite shocked by Su Yan's puppet. It was infinitely close to a forbidden power, and even the order environment of the celestial world couldn't suppress it. There was a feeling of an all-around explosion. In an instant, heaven and earth trembled, and the five-fingered mountain collapsed. What? Qian Hong's expression changed greatly. Although he didn't use his strongest power just now, his control of the laws of heaven and earth was superb. However, Su Yin used the energy he emitted to collapse it. Bam! It was also at this moment that Su Yin came down the mountain. His qualifications were quite domineering. He leaped up and aimed for Qian Hong's head. Be starred. How dare you humiliate me like this? Qian Hong was furious. What kind of person was he? He used to be a core genius of the Immortal's Cave. Now, Su Yin was stepping on him. This was a humiliation to him. Who do you think you are? Su Yin stepped on the sky. His strength was extraordinary, and the mountains trembled from the pressure. A terrifying aura came down. You're courting death, Qian Hong roared. No matter what, he couldn't let Su Yin step on his head. His palms instantly moved, and he used his strongest power. The dormant energy source in his body boiled and roared. Boom! Divine light shot out in all directions, and the Imperial Realm's combat strength erupted. A huge figure also appeared behind Qian Hong. It was like a huge life form born in the celestial world, and it intimidated the surroundings. The experts of the same generation were shocked. This Qian Hong was truly incredible. The Dharma idol true body behind him was extremely powerful. It was like a supreme emperor looking down on the world. It stood indomitable, and with a palm strike, the rules of order in the sky appeared again. It slammed toward Su Yan's foot that was coming down. Suddenly, Su Yan's aura erupted. The human-shaped puppet recovered to its strongest state. Roar! He let out a low roar. His body was in danger of exploding. His buried heaven body was also instantly awakened. It carried the human-shaped puppet, and it emitted a monstrous aura that suppressed everything. Along the way, the void exploded inch by inch. Terrifying waves spread out. These waves caused the saints to fall to the ground. Many old emperors were shocked. What kind of power is this? Even if Xiongba forcefully raised Su Yan's cultivation to the imperial realm, there's no need for him to be so monstrous, right? One had to admit that Su Yan's foot was too terrifying. The suppressive force it emitted made the old emperor's hair stand on end. The golden foot traversed the sky. It was as if a peerless emperor was enraged. It stepped on the 9 heavens, and its might was boundless. Su Yan was extremely powerful. He had a feeling that the world could not stop him. Even the firmament could not hide him. This was the power of the imperial realm, the power to destroy the world. The terrifying foot stomped down and crushed the Dharma idol true body that appeared behind Xianhong. No, Xianhong roared. He wanted to use his capacities to resist. However, it was useless. The human-shaped puppet gave Su Yan terrifying strength. He seemed to have turned into a terrifying immortal devil overlord. He tore apart the order of the world, crushed the imperial realm expert, and suppressed the universe. Bam! Xianhong's arms were broken. The foot stomped on the top of Xianhong's head. There was a miserable cry, and blood spurted out. A large crack appeared on the top of Xianhong's head. Even his entire body was trembling. His spine was also broken. His appearance was truly tragic. Both of his knees were bent as Su Yan stepped on him. What nonsense! You were just pretending to be powerful. Now you're so weak that you can't even withstand a single blow. Su Yan shook his head and taunted. You're just a piece of trash who was eliminated from the Immortal Cave's core area. I don't know where you get the nerve to yell here. You even want to suppress Daesong's realm to fight me. You really don't know your place. Shut up. Xianhong's entire body was covered in blood. He let out a beast-like roar. Su Yan had made him sound like a useless person. Most importantly, he had poked at his sore spot. Being eliminated by the deity's cave had always been a thorn in his heart. Kill! Xianhong roared. The essence blood in his body burned, and the order of the imperial realm's laws went berserk. He was almost risking his life to release an even more powerful force. It caused the area to explode and turn into a terrifying black hole. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful Xianhong was, he couldn't shake off Su Yan's foot. You want to break free and fight me to the death? Agree. I'll give you a chance. As he retracted his foot, Xianhong roared miserably. He was like a wild beast that had broken free from its territory. The imperial realm's battle prowess erupted. The great stars in the sky trembled and swept through the sky. It had to be said that Xianhong's desperate state was quite shocking. He was like a blood-stained giant beast that rushed up and wanted to tear Su Yan apart. You still dare to attack me? I'll beat you to death. Su Yan's fist could suppress mountains and rivers. His figure that was standing on the giant mountain suddenly rose from the ground. His body crossed the sky and instantly struck in front of Xianhong. Kill! Xianhong was already risking his life. His essence blood overflowed and burned, turning into Imperial Realm's power. He also triggered the Order of the Heavens to descend, wanting to suppress Su Yan. When Imperial Realm experts fought, the killing intent that leaked out was terrifying. The Saints couldn't bear it and felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. The sky was filled with killing intent, and the Order of the Great Tao burned. This puppet is a little perverted? Xiongba's eyes widened. Xianhong had already been driven crazy by Su Yan. But even in such a situation, Su Yan still grasped boundless strength. His strength was terrifying and could pierce through the heavens and earth. He could pluck the stars and capture the moon at any time. The metal life form merged with Su Yan. His fist was too ferocious, blasting apart the order of the heavens and earth. It smashed into Xianhong's chest. Xianhong couldn't say a word. He was in so much pain that his entire body was trembling. In the next moment, he felt a chill on his arm. Su Yan directly removed his arm. Ah! Xianhong screamed miserably. He was truly shocked and furious. His arm had been dislocated. No, it had been directly torn off. What are you screaming for? You dog, Scram! Su Yan slapped him on the face, causing him to roll to the foot of the mountain. The people in the surroundings were stunned. They originally thought that there would be a huge battle. Who knew that it would end so quickly? Xianhong was defeated miserably, and all the bones in his body were broken. He laid in a pool of blood and couldn't crawl up. His arm was also removed by Su Yan. Wasn't this too cruel? Chapter 1885. Blood dripped everywhere, a ghastly sight. Xianhong shivered in the pool of blood. He tried to crawl up, but it was completely useless. The bones in his body were all broken, and his blood-soaked body was leaking divine might. It was as miserable as it could get. A few old experts in the Elder Courtyard were stupefied. What was Xiongba doing? Did he feel that this period of time wasn't chaotic enough? No one felt that this was Su Yan's doing. It was definitely Xiongba's doing, giving Su Yan enough power to crush Xianhong. Su Yan was overwhelmed with emotions. The human-shaped puppet was truly powerful, granting him heaven-overflowing methods, reaching the peak of the Emperor Dao. However, when he noticed that several thousand gene of immortal source turned into ashes, Su Yan's face became like a black disaster. The immortal source on him was already very limited. Even though Third Elder gave 200,000 gene of immortal source to Su Yan, for the sake of purchasing materials for the puppet's next evolution, he had already spent over 100,000 gene of immortal source. He estimated that the puppet's next evolution will be close to 1,000,000 gene of immortal source. Just what kind of concept was this? Now, if the human-shaped puppet wanted to operate, it needed enough immortal source to provide power. If the battle continued for an entire day and night, Su Yan didn't dare imagine just how much wealth would be needed. It really was a bottomless pit. Humiliating me like this. Are you not scared of dying prematurely? Xianhong's roar exploded in the Elder Courtyard. No one has ever dared to humiliate Immortal Cave. Never. Pung. Su Yan threw out the broken arm, and it landed squarely on Xianhong's body, making him cry out miserably. His ruined body trembled, and he flew far away. Bloody light blossomed in the sky. Even someone like you is worthy of representing Immortal Elder Courtyard. Su Yan coldly shouted, "If you lose in a confrontation between peers, then so be it. I didn't kill you, yet you didn't even thank me, and even brought out Immortal Elder Courtyard. You truly are a shameless thing. If I were you, I wouldn't even have the face to announce my background, and would directly kill myself with tofu." Su Yan, Xianhong screamed miserably. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked like a wild beast that had gone mad. He had already lost his reason and was struggling in a pool of blood. He wanted to crawl up and tear Su Yan apart. He came to find him with great fanfare, wanting to teach Su Yan a lesson, but in the end, he suffered extraordinary shame and humiliation. Xianhong couldn't take it anymore. He was so angry that he was about to go crazy. His blood-stained hair danced as he roared, "You're finished. Don't even think about going to the Immortal Cave. Don't even think about going there in this lifetime." Boom! Su Yan moved like a thunderbolt, charging towards Xianhong in an instant. Daesung didn't use the humanoid puppet during this process. He unleashed his battle prowess and punched Xianhong, causing him to tremble and bend over. He was in so much pain that tears streamed down his face. Some of the deacons in the Elder Courtyard had a headache. They were really worried that Su Yan would kill Xianhong. However, they didn't dare to stop him. Su Yan even met with the Phoenix King. This was enough to show how important Su Yan was to the Phoenix King. If the Phoenix King was truly afraid of the immortal Elder Courtyard, then the heavenly Astral King wouldn't have fallen. Now, Emir Xianhong was beaten up. Su Yan's fist was covered in blood, and his eyes were shooting cold lightning. "Don't play dead. Threaten me again." Su Yan's angry roar shook Xianhong, who had his eyes closed, until his entire body trembled. Then, he let out a hysterical roar because Su Yan had stretched out his hand and wanted to grab his space-time treasure. These disciples of the Immortal Cave were extremely valuable. Su Yan obtained a huge amount of wealth from the Heavenly Astral King, and he had already asked Xiongba to sell it. It was about time. Su Yan needed immortal sources, large amounts of them. He needed to evolve the puppets. Actually, no matter how rich the Heavenly Astral King was, immortal sources were rare resources. Even someone as powerful as a king wouldn't be able to take out much. At most, he would have a few thousand kilograms of immortal sources. In fact, a few thousand kilograms was already a huge amount of wealth. However, for a bottomless pit like Su Yin, it wasn't enough. Now that he had forcefully snatched Xian Hong's spatial treasure, he slapped his head and scolded. "What are you shouting for? Didn't you just take some things? Just treat them as spoils of war." Xian Hong was tortured to the point of insanity. In short, no matter how much he threatened, Su Yin didn't take it seriously. He might even be beaten up, so he simply didn't dare to open his mouth. So boring. There are only 4,000 kilograms of immortal sources in the secret treasure. Too poor. Su Yin finally shook his head and sent Xian Hong flying with another slap. "I'm always on guard." Xian Hong opened his mouth and cursed. It was impossible to understand what kind of bird language he was saying. His broken body smashed into the elder courtyard's door, leaving behind a large bloodstain. He flew out of the door and smashed into the street. In fact, at this moment, outside the elder courtyard, a large group of experts were surrounding and looking towards the inner sect. After all, this was an important place in the Monarch City. Without an invitation, they couldn't enter. Everyone wanted to know what had happened inside at the first moment, and whether Xian Hong had suppressed Su Yin. "Who's there?" The surrounding crowd was shocked and made way. The cultivator who was thrown out was in a terrible state. His flesh and blood were badly mangled, and they couldn't tell who he was. Su Yin is in such a terrible state. Was he beaten up by Xian Hong? Thrown out again? It should be. Xian Hong is Xian Hong. He's too strong. Looks like this devil, Su Yin, suffered a great loss. Suffering a loss is a blessing. He will keep a low profile in the future. Many people shuddered and whispered and discussed softly. In short, this person was too miserable. After being thrown out, he couldn't even get up. His body was rotten, and none of the bones in his body were intact. PFFF. Xian Hong was so angry that he trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he was confused and didn't know what to do. Soon, he remembered. He was the one who came to Su Yan's door forcefully and asked him to scram to receive the decree. In the end, he was beaten out and robbed clean. Now, he fell on a cold street and couldn't get up. Now, Xian Hong wanted to find a hole to hide in. He let out a miserable roar and swore that he wouldn't forgive Su Yan. Boom! Suddenly, the area became extremely gloomy. Muffled thunder reverberated between heaven and earth. It rumbled and shook people's souls. Two figures with terrifying auras appeared in this area. Their faces were gloomy, and extremely terrifying auras flowed in their bodies. The pressure made everyone tremble. Many people couldn't bear it and were about to be torn apart. What kind of place was this? This was the Monarch City. This was a place where experts gathered. Now, everyone was trembling and couldn't raise their heads. One could imagine what kind of experts had come. The two silhouettes, shrouded in primal chaos chi, had terrifying forbidden light flowing around them. Behind them, billions of feet tall Dharma bodies could be vaguely seen. They filled the entire ancient star sea and extended to the extraterritorial lands. Xian Hong, the old man with golden eyes, was furious. This was his descendant. Now, he was beaten up badly. Even his broken body was deformed. He was beaten up badly. He was called Xian Zhisheng. He was one of the old ancestors of the Xian family. He had lived for a long time. Similarly, the Xian family was glorious in the Monarch City. Although they weren't a monarch race, they were definitely one of the top clans in the celestial world. What was a monarch race? Only the experts from the clans who were titled emperors were qualified to be called monarch races. Monarch races were too terrifying. There were only a few in the celestial world. One must know that titled emperors had immeasurable lifespans. This level was too terrifying. Of course, there were some ancient clans in the celestial world that weren't inferior to monarch races. Or rather, they were former monarch races. The past monarch races were those whose titled emperors died, losing the qualifications to be titled monarch races. Once a monarch race appeared, all clans would respect them. This was something all of the great clans in the celestial world knew. After all, titled emperors were the pillars of the celestial world, the main force that resisted the dark realm. What? The surroundings were in an uproar. Everyone's eyes widened. This person was Xian Hong, not Su Yan at all. Xianjia Sheng's body released flames of anger, the effects terrifying. Many people felt dizzy, almost falling asleep on the ground. In the world where primal chaos pervaded, the taboo giants were shocked and furious. Xian Hong was beaten up, almost dying. Who did this? It's an elder from Elder Hall. Xian Hong released a low roar. It was definitely Xiong Ba who secretly did something, or else he wouldn't have been crushed by Su Yan. It was definitely Xiong Ba's doing. Shameful. Is King City's Elder Hall going to rebel? Xian Zhisheng, he was furious. The entire King City erupted with noise. They came with a decree, yet in the end, Xian Hong was beaten up. This was simply slapping Immortal Elder Hall's face. Hong. The massive Elder Hall surged with fluctuations, transmitting flames of anger. Xian Zhisheng and the two great experts joined hands and stepped into Elder Hall to denounce them. Even if the Tao Protector was here, they still had to demand an explanation. Who was it that did this? Come out. The two great experts spoke angrily. They weren't willing to do this job to begin with, and now that Xian Hong was beaten up, it was the same as adding oil to the flames. If not for them having misgivings towards the Phoenix King, they would have long overturned this place. It was me. Su Yan's eyes looked towards the two great taboo experts. His figure was tall and straight, his body sturdy. His long black hair scattered down, and he wore black long clothes. Xian Zhisheng's eyes landed on Su Yan's body. This entire region began to tremble, releasing mountain collapsing and tsunami roaring sounds, intimidating everyone. Originally, Xiong Ba was worried for Su Yan, but when he saw that the other party's expression was calm and composed, he was immediately shocked. It seemed like Su Yan had a formidable treasure protecting him, isolating him from the taboo pressure. You've just met, and you're already attacking? That's not good, is it? Su Yan's eyes were like cold lightning. He said, "Do you want to be like Xian Hong, suppressing the weak with your strength?" The other deacon of the Immortal Cave's face fell. Didn't they say that it was an expert from the Elder Hall who did this? Why was a young man? Moreover, he carefully observed Su Yan. This man's temperament was extraordinary, and he didn't look like a person from Small Pond. Many experts from the Immortal Cave came, including a group of great cultivators at the Emperor Realm. Someone questioned Su Yan. Was it you who beat Xian Hong up like this? How can a Daesong like you have such combat strength? Xiong Ba waved his hand, and the scene of the previous battle appeared. Xian Zhisheng's expression was ugly as he glared at Xian Hong. He could see that Su Yan didn't use the taboo power. It was an emperor against an emperor, but Xian Hong was defeated miserably. Are you Su Yan? The deacon of the Immortal Old Hall, with thick chaotic energy, stared at him and asked. That's me. Su Yan didn't know why they came, but there was nothing to be afraid of. So it's you. He waved at Su Yan and said, Come with me. Deacon. Xian Hong was anxious. His appearance was too miserable. When he opened his mouth, his teeth were about to fall out. The expert with chaotic energy glanced at Xian Hong and didn't pay attention to him. Go with you? Su Yan muttered in his heart. Su Yan. Xian Zhisheng's face was cold. He waved the decree in his hand as if he was giving alms. He said impatiently, Come with me to the Immortal Old Hall. You already have the qualifications to enter the core area of the Immortal Old Hall. What? This place was in an uproar. Was Su Yan going to enter the Immortal Cave to cultivate? This was too big of a surprise. Xiong Ba was stunned. Going directly to the core area, not the outer area. It seemed that the Immortal Old Hall already knew that Su Yan had beaten up the Heavenly Astral King, and the decree in his hand was personally issued by the Immortal Old Hall. Don't just stand there. Let's go. Xian Zhisheng was annoyed. This task was not easy to complete. Su Yan killed Little Thunder, suppressed the fiancé of the Tenrai of Beach, and killed the Heavenly Astral King. One major event after another. Su Yan had already provoked many people in the Immortal Cave, so this task was not easy to complete. He couldn't refuse, so he could only come to receive him. The experts outside the Elder Hall were all shocked. Their eyes were burning as they stared at Su Yan as if he was a peerless treasure. Entering the core area was equivalent to reaching the heavens in one step, becoming a hot character in the immortal world. Why aren't you accepting the decree? Xian Zhisheng became more and more irritated. Who knew how many young geniuses were jealous of this thing? He directly threw it on Su Yan's head. This brat was really lucky. I don't want to go. Su Yan shook his head. If he went to the immortal cave, he would be bound and unable to grow in the future. He could only stop at the Daesong realm. He was now pursuing the path of Immortal King. Even if the immortal cave gave him the strongest resources, Su Yan wouldn't be moved. Chapter 1886. The surrounding cultivators were stunned. At first, they were envious of Su Yan. This guy really reached the heavens in a single step. Now, they thought they heard wrong. Didn't want to go? Giving up the chance to enter the core area of the Immortals Cave? Was this guy's brain broken? There were cultivators who gave up in the past, but it was too few, pitifully few. However, he was Su Yan, a Saint Realm cultivator from the mortal world. There were emperor clans in the immortal world who wanted his life. Under such circumstances, Su Yan actually gave up the chance to enter the Immortals Cave. Some people thought he was crazy, and some thought he was stupid. Once he entered the Cave of the Immortals and directly entered the core area, he would immediately become a popular figure in the immortal world. His glory would last for a long time, which was the dream of many people. However, Su Yan decisively refused without any hesitation. Not only were they petrified, but so were Xian Hong and the others. Originally, they didn't want to take a disaster to the Immortals Cave, but now, Su Yan directly refused under the circumstances of the Immortal Academy's decree. What did you say? Xian Zhisheng's eyes widened and stared at Su Yan without blinking. He said in a low voice, "Say it again." I said, "I'm not interested in the Immortals Cave." Su Yan shook his head. "You." Xian Zhisheng pointed at Su Yan. His face was twitching. He really thought this kid was crazy. This was the qualification to enter the core area. Did this kid know what kind of benefits he was rejecting? This was a great opportunity to bring glory to his ancestors. In fact, if the mortal world hadn't declined and become a thing of the past, the Immortals Cave wouldn't let the geniuses of the mortal world go there to further their studies. The place trembled and the world lost its color. An extremely terrifying aura was also emitted. A terrifying creature was about to go crazy. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. He stared at the unfriendly Xian Zhisheng and shouted, "If I don't go, are you going to force me to go?" The old man, surrounded by primal chaos, stood up. He frowned and asked, "Su Yan, this is a great opportunity. Do you know what it means to give up? Or are you worried about something?" "Of course." Su Yan smiled. "Who knows what I'll experience in the Immortals Cave? I killed Little Thunder and Heavenly Astral King. I'm really scared. I haven't stepped into the Immortals Cave." "Nonsense." Xian Zhisheng's face was livid. He scolded angrily, "You are slandering the Immortal Cave. This is a decree issued by Immortal Elder Academy. Who dares to target you? I can clearly tell you that as long as you accept the decree, regardless of who is targeting you, they will investigate to the end. Immortal Old Academy is the highest institution that oversees the natural laws of this world, so you should not question it." "Don't make it sound so nice," Su Yan shouted. "Back then, when I was in King City, there were people attacking King City. One after another, group after group. They wanted to kill me openly. If it wasn't for Phoenix King's protection, I, Su Yan, would be a corpse now. Since Immortal Elder is the organization that oversees the world's rules, why don't you investigate who ordered the people who targeted me back then? I really can't believe the Immortals Cave." Xian Zhisheng and Xian Zhisheng's faces were extremely ugly. It could even be said that they were gloomy. That matter had been resolved, and no one would mention it again. However, Su Yan directly said it to embarrass them. "Su Yan, you don't know when to stop. The past is the past. Now is the present." Xian Zhisheng said with a gloomy face, "You must accept the decree. This is the order of Immortal Elder. You can't go against it. Are you going to force me to do something?" Su Yan's eyes flashed with cold lightning. Immortals Cave was more biased towards Emperor clans. After all, Immortals Cave was created by Emperor clans. What is the past? What is the present? Could it be that if I don't become a core disciple of Immortals Cave, I will face the misfortune of being killed at any time. The outside of the city was in an uproar. There were some who cheered inwardly, supporting Su Yan's words. Prison King and the others attacked King City, creating a huge storm, but no one brought this matter up again. There were also some who felt a headache. Su Yan really dared to say anything. You. The two attendants from Immortal Elder were so angry their faces turned ashen. Xian Zhixing also felt a headache. Your words are too extreme. No matter what, Immortal's Cave has already issued a decree. Even if you really don't want to go, you still have to make a trip to Immortal's Cave to explain yourself. Otherwise, we won't be able to report back. I'm not going, Su Yan said indifferently. I want to stay in King City and follow the Phoenix King. Su Yan, we are advising you nicely. Don't try to take advantage of us. The two great experts were furious, using the Phoenix King to pressure them. Haha, youngsters these days really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Immortal's Cave has abandoned their former enmity, not bickering over Heaven Burial Cave's mistakes, instead inviting you to further your studies in Immortal's Cave. You, on the other hand, don't know what's good for you. Laughter rang out, ears splitting and soul stirring. It was as if millions of claps of thunder were exploding in everyone's hearts, making their souls feel like they were about to fall. The aura that engulfed Over was especially terrifying. The entire vast starry sky shone resplendently, about to descend and cover Elder Courtyard. An extremely shocking figure walked over with a majestic gait. Wherever he passed, the great stars in the sky would return to a state of eternal stillness. Even the sun's radiance were about to be extinguished. He exuded a supreme heavenly might, and when he descended, the entire Elder Courtyard trembled. Countless experts trembled, and the body of an Emperor Realm expert was about to explode. It could be seen how terrifying it was. Immortal King? Everyone was terrified. An unrivaled power was pressing down. Even Tyrant Bear found it difficult to breathe. The aura of the person who came was extremely powerful, as if a terrifying starry sky lord had descended upon Elder Courtyard. Silver light filled the sky as it descended, and the aura was even more severe than the destruction of the starry sea. Su Yan clenched his fists tightly, sensing an extremely terrifying might. He used this to suppress the furnace of domain suppression, not wanting outsiders to know that he possessed an Immortal King weapon. In short, the expert who suddenly barged into Elder Courtyard came from a starry sky emperor race. He had already been entrenched outside the city for many days. At this moment, he finally appeared. Dao Brother Peng Zhe. The two great attendants greeted, their expressions pleasantly surprised. Dao Brother? A hint of surprise flashed in the depths of Su Yan's eyes. He wasn't an Immortal King, but should be a fake Immortal King, about the same state as the Phoenix King. However, a fake Immortal King was also considered a top figure, only half a step away from becoming an Immortal King. Especially this expert from the Starry Sky Emperor race. He intimidated the universe. His body was filled with boundless great Dao aura, enough to traverse a great universe. Xing Pengzhe's expression was cold. He was a big shot from Starry Night's faction. His history of fame was even older than the Phoenix King and the Jail King. He was even an elder of the Heavenly Astral King. The Heavenly Astral King was killed, and this matter made Xing Pengzhe furious. If it weren't for his fear of the Phoenix King, he would have already killed his way in. What do you mean by not adapting to the circumstances? Su Yan said in a low voice. Why is it wrong for me not to join the Immortal Cave? Could it be that the entire celestial realm needs the Immortal Cave to support it? Young man, your tone is really big. Xing Pengzhe said coldly. Don't tell me that if you don't join the Immortal Cave, you want to become an Immortal King in the future? Xian Zhixing and the others laughed. Was this just a fool's dream? Not to mention Su Yan. Even if all the peerless geniuses of the Immortal Cave were released, how many Immortal Kings could walk out in the end? Why not? Su Yan said disdainfully. I don't even dare to think about it. No wonder you're not an Immortal King yet. How dare you? Xing Pengzhe was furious. He had been standing in the false Immortal King realm for a very long time. Tens of millions of years had passed, but he still couldn't break through. It was a thorn in his heart, but he didn't expect Su Yin to directly mock him. Su Yin's body shook. It was as if a huge bell was ringing in his ears, and Su Yin's body and mind were about to collapse. This was a false immortal king, and a single angry rebuke from him could make an immortal emperor disintegrate. His aura was really terrifying, and it really made people feel that all living things were like ants. Pengze, you're really getting worse and worse. You even want to make things difficult for a junior? He wants to stay and grow under the Phoenix King. Why not? When did the Immortal Cave shamelessly beg others to go to the Immortal Cave? All of a sudden, a voice even more resounding than a huge bell rang out, isolating Pengze's anger. So Su Yin didn't make a fool of himself. Many people sucked in a cold breath. Who had come? It was as if a prehistoric giant beast was walking over. It was as grand as the sky abyss, and similarly made people unable to breathe. Everyone was shocked and alarmed. It was a gray-robed elder. His body was small and thin, but he had the might to swallow the world, the power to destroy the stars in the sky. Once angered, one would have to bear a calamity of annihilation. Baokai was speechless. Really, old monsters were coming out one after another. Who was this person? In short, once one looked over, there was a kind of fear and anxiety, causing many people to tremble, not daring to look directly at him. Because when one's divine sense looked over, it was as if they saw a vast sky abyss, so deep that it couldn't be reached. It could devour their souls. Heavenly Sun Ice. Xiongba recognized the person who had come, and his heart trembled fiercely. What is he doing here? What are you doing here? Pengze's expression darkened. Why can't I come? Heavenly Sun Ice retracted his aura, and his gaze fell on Su Yin. He said with a smile, "Young man, I heard that you defeated the Heavenly Astral King, so I came to take a look. Senior, what can I do for you?" Su Yin cupped his hands and bowed. This was most likely a fake immortal king. "Little friend, you are indeed a dragon among immortals." Heavenly Sun Ice laughed. "As long as you nod, you can directly join the Celestials." "No, you can't." Before he could finish his words, Xianjishan growled like a tiger whose tail had been stepped on. Su Yin was a little surprised. He had heard from the mysterious skeleton that in the immortal world, the Celestials, Xian people, and Reincarnation tribe had the most ancient origins. Legend had it that the Celestials' waters were the deepest, and the origins of their ancestors were unimaginable. This tribe was one of the most ancient emperor tribes in the immortal world, and they had the name Celestial. It was truly terrifying. "Do you have the right to speak here?" Heavenly Sun Ice looked kind, but once he was angry, the two forbidden experts trembled and almost lost their footing. Xianjia and Xianjia had a headache and re-examined their identities. They could look down on Su Yin, but in front of a fake immortal king, they had to be obedient and not overstep their boundaries. "Little friend, my celestial race has endless resources. As long as you nod, you can join the celestial race. If the immortal world dares to provoke us, and even our princess is the strongest genius in the immortal world, you might have a chance to get to know her." Xiongba smacked his lips. Who didn't know the most terrifying genius of the immortal cave? The celestial race's woman, who was called the princess by the world. Only peerless geniuses with the potential of a great emperor were qualified to be called this. Of course, this wasn't a title. The princess had almost won 3 rounds in the immortal demon battlefield, and was recognized as invincible in the immortal world. Heavenly Sun Ice, you're really getting worse and worse. You used to use the princess as a cover to steal people from the immortal cave. Pengze said coldly, "Immortal Elder Academy's decree has already been issued. Why do you still want to intercept?" No matter what, once Su Yin joined the celestial race, this was something the 3 emperor races didn't want to see. Su Yin has already made it clear that he won't go to the immortal cave. Heavenly Sun Ice sneered. "How come my celestial race doesn't even have the qualifications to invite someone with great potential to join the emperor race? What are you trying to do?" Xianji's face turned green. There was no room for him to speak here. He didn't expect the celestial race to invite Su Yin to the celestial race to cultivate. "Su Yin, As long as you say the word, I'll take you away right now. Heavenly Sun Ice looked at Su Yin and said seriously, although the celestial race's cultivation resources can't compare to the immortal cave, they can ensure your safety. If you want to leave in the future, we won't forcefully stop you. Chapter 1887. Xiongba's expression was strange. If the Celestials were sincere in their invitation, Su Yin would be the best choice. But this didn't make sense. Su Yin had offended several Emperor clans. Why would the Celestials offend the Xian people for a young prodigy with great potential? How can this junior be worthy of Senior's invitation? Su Yin looked troubled and hesitant. The Celestials are the oldest Emperor clan in the immortal world. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested, but I've already promised the Phoenix King. There was no doubt that the Celestials were powerful, but they were in so much trouble. There was no reason for them to offend several Emperor clans. Although he had a good impression of Tianyang Bing, he wouldn't gamble with his life. He couldn't afford to do so now. He was treading on thin ice in the immortal world. One wrong step and he would be doomed. Ha ha! Xing Pengze laughed and mocked. Tianyang Bing, don't be so cold. Doesn't it feel good to be rejected? He said he wanted to walk the path of an immortal king. He even rejected the immortal cave, let alone the Celestials. Tianyang Bing's expression didn't change. He smiled and said to Su Yin, that's right. Su Yin, I understand your current situation. Some clans are too shameless. They've targeted you time and time again. It would be strange if they weren't vigilant. I'm not in a hurry. I can give Su Yin some time to consider. Thank you, Senior, Su Yin said loudly. He even glanced at Xing Pengze. His meaning couldn't be more obvious. You have to take responsibility for your words. Xing Pengze's face darkened. The murderous intent that had been dormant in his body for a long time was released. He had been suppressing a lot of anger these days, but Su Yin didn't come out. What could he do? On the other hand, if Su Yin went to the immortal cave, he wouldn't be so helpless. It was better than being under the Phoenix King's nose. He could find a way to deal with this arrogant junior. But if Su Yin went to the Celestials, that was something they didn't want to see. What? Do you want to experience the absolute arts of my Tian clan? Tianyang Bing's eyes turned cold as he stared at Xing Pengze. He had never been afraid of trouble. Moreover, the Starry Sky Imperial clan's resources were far inferior to the Xian people's. As one of the most ancient emperor clans in the immortal world, no calamity had befallen them during the last taboo. One could well imagine how terrifying this emperor clan's confidence was. They were about to become the #1 emperor clan in the immortal world. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Xing Pengze clenched his fists slightly as he spoke in a piercingly cold voice. They were all half-step immortal kings, and all of them had survived countless storms and waves, so why would they fear a competition between their peers? All right, let's fight in the outer realms. Tianyang Bing directly spoke, causing a huge commotion in the surroundings. Who would have thought that things would develop to this point? Wasn't this a bit too serious? A battle between false immortal kings might indirectly trigger a clash between emperor clans, the effects too great. Many people looked at Su Yin with trembling eyes, each and every one of them feeling apprehensive. After all, a shocking genius who could defeat the heavenly astral king was worth the efforts of the Tian clan to rope him in. In fact, if Su Yin hadn't provoked a few great emperor clans, countless old monsters who had been hibernating in various places would have jumped out one after another. Fine, let's fight in the outer realms then. Xing Pengze was furious. Tianyang Bing was really overbearing. Was he so eager to establish a relationship with Su Yin? Remember, if you lose, leave King City and don't make things difficult for little brother Su Yin. Tianyang Bing's final words gave Su Yin a headache. Tianyang Bing was really too enthusiastic. The two of them didn't have any relationship, but he directly protected him. If Tianyang Bing really won, he would most likely be angered if he rejected another invitation. This was a false, immortal king who had gone through countless tribulations to reach this step. Although Su Yan's potential was extraordinary, in the eyes of this kind of person, he still wasn't qualified to talk to him. What kind of existence were they? Even if there were matchless heavenly talents in a mortal cave in the past, Those who had the qualifications to enter this trial were few and far between. As for the immortal king path, it was even more difficult and dangerous. It wasn't something that could be done just by having enough talent. Su Yin hurriedly left, leaving King City to search for his own natural luck, to find a path of growth that belonged to him. On the contrary, it was Xian Zusheng and Xing Pengze who were especially embarrassed. What did he take them for? They originally came to guide Su Yin to a mortal cave, but now they couldn't even get close to the border, unable to interrupt. If an immortal elder came from a mortal elder academy this time, the situation would naturally be different. However, Su Yin still didn't have the qualifications to make an immortal elder personally invite him. Suddenly, a vast rain of light rose from the distant world, bombarding the outer realms until space trembled. The entire King City universe seemed to have collapsed, an unrivaled aura spreading. That is, Su Yin revealed a look of shock. The creatures that came were extremely terrifying, the power they released resplendent and heaven overflowing, radiating through ancient cosmos one after another. The power was too shocking, about to sweep through 10,000 realms. There was also a massive figure that appeared, its head in the heavens, overlooking all life. 10,000 realms resonated. Regardless of how far away they were, the figure that appeared between heaven and earth seemed to be towering before them, making them couldn't help but tremble. Immortal King. Xiongba lost his composure. This was the descent of a true immortal king. The heavens beyond trembled. The terrifying creature seemed to have crossed over 10,000 realms, approaching from a distance. That type of terrifying fluctuation that made one lose consciousness made all living things want to bow down and worship. In the end, an old monkey with a dignified appearance appeared at the limits of the horizon. It was too fast, as if it crossed over from the archaic era, carrying a terrifying space-time aura. It was clear that the speed at which it crossed over was too fast, using immortal king power, and that was why it gave everyone a type of misconception. We pay our respects to the heavenly monkey king. The crowd was incomparably shocked, large groups walking up to pay their respects. The heavenly monkey king hurried over. Something major definitely happened. This was precisely the legendary heavenly monkey king. The heavenly holy king in a mortal cave was his son. Legend had it that if not for the heavenly monkey king being old, he even had hope of becoming an emperor. This was the current heavenly monkey bloodline's old clan master. His identity and status too extraordinary. His chi and blood suddenly declined, no longer having the might of his golden age, but he was still an immortal king. What a mess! The heavenly monkey king's words were like thunder from the 9 heavens, crushing heaven and earth until it trembled, as if it was going to explode. Xing Pengze felt a headache. Why did this old monkey come out of seclusion? Could it be that the Phoenix King invited him out? Xiongba didn't dare breathe loudly. Facing this old monkey was like facing the ruler of his life. This old monkey wasn't an ordinary character. Back then, when he was at his peak, he led the heavenly monkey clan, even having the confidence to challenge emperor clans. Old ancestor. Outside the door, a monkey king with a masculine aura rushed over and cried out excitedly. His eyes were somewhat red. This was a legend of the celestial monkey race. He was so excited that he somersaulted like a child and arrived in front of the old monkey. The monkey king transmitted sound, telling it what happened here. It was similarly shocked, not expecting its clan's old ancestor to come. Could it be that the heavenly monkey clan also wanted to get involved? We pay our respects to Senior. Xian Zhisheng and these two felt a headache. The old monkey's eyes were always staring at them, making them feel too uncomfortable. They hurriedly walked up and paid their respects. Youngsters have their own choices. Whether they go or not is not up to your immortal cave. The old monkey spoke, its words grand, making Xian Zhisheng and these two tremble, their bodies about to collapse. They were incomparably alarmed, saying with trembling voices, "Junior understands. We won't interfere with Su Yan's way of thinking." They fled in defeat, not willing to stay for even a moment longer. This was but an immortal king, the authority of his words even more shocking than the Phoenix King's. After all, the current Phoenix King was just a fake immortal king. Many people were shocked, not expecting an immortal king to stand out and speak for Su Yin, moreover forcing Immortal Cave's attendants to leave. Su Yin was overwhelmed with emotions. This was an immortal king, able to scare off two great taboo experts with a single sentence, truly possessing matchless might. The younger generation struggle. Could it be that the older generation also wants to get involved? The old monkey's golden pupils looked towards Xingpingzi. The latter was horrified, a faintly discernible, unmatched, vicious energy, about to destroy his starry sky, great Tao, suppress and kill his true body. Senior is joking, Xingpingzi said with a bitter smile. This one does not have such intentions. Ha ha ha, I never expected Senior to grace us with your presence. Forgive me for not coming out to meet you. In the end, the Phoenix King appeared, laughing loudly, bowing respectfully, addressing him as a junior. Many people were shocked. After all, the Phoenix King was once an immortal king. Why was there a need for such great courtesy? Only a few people understood that this old monkey's lifespan was too long. Even though the Phoenix King was at the Immortal King realm, he still had to address him as a junior. Moreover, the Phoenix King was also extremely respectful towards the old monkey. When he was young, he was also an extraordinary figure, having once won a great battle of immortals and demons. Phoenix King, you and I do not need this kind of courtesy. The old monkey raised a hand, pulling the Phoenix King up. He looked towards Xingpingzi and said, let the younger generation deal with it. If you can't win, you have to swallow any bitterness yourselves. Xiongba almost jumped up. This old monkey was truly domineering, directly speaking, directly giving Xingpingzi a warning. Xingpingzi's expression was extremely ugly. What did he mean by can't win? Their starry sky emperor race had a heavenly king of a generation, slumbering in the immortal cave one life after another, also winning in the immortal and demon battlefield. If it was the heavenly monkey king when he was young, he might not have been able to defeat this race's heavenly king. However, he didn't dare to say another word. He cupped his hands and retreated. Tianyongbing didn't wait for the old monkey to speak, directly retreating. Before he left, he didn't forget to ask Su Yin to seriously consider it. Su Yan's lineage is related to this old man. I advise all the great clans not to bully the weak. Otherwise, you will lose the face of the immortal world, and you will lose the face of your ancestors. The old monkey's words were like a large bell, reverberating throughout the imperial city. Everyone was shaken. These words were incredible. Who would have thought that the celestial monkey race's old clan leader would directly stand out and speak up for Su Yin, mocking the emperor race for not having the demeanor of a great clan? The Phoenix King was also surprised. The heavenly monkey king and Su Yan's lineage were related? Was he talking about the heaven burial lineage or the celestial court lineage? The old monkey was indeed invited by the Phoenix King to send Su Yin out safely. However, he didn't expect the old monkey to be so domineering, directly announcing it to the world here. It was obvious that this old monkey cared a lot about Su Yin. I advise all the clans to stop before going too far. Although this old man doesn't have much lifespan left, I can still display my remaining strength. My race has never been afraid of battle. The old monkey's final words caused an uproar in the imperial city. There were endless flames of battle surging. This was a terrifying immortal king aura that swept through 3,000 realms, announcing to the world that it would protect Su Yin. The world wouldn't forget that the heavenly monkey race had always been known as the battle tribe. If it weren't for the fact that there were few descendants of their bloodline, this race's potential would be quite terrifying. Su Yin was also petrified. This was too domineering, directly announcing it to the world. Was it because of the heaven burial cave or the celestial court? Boom! In an instant, the old monkey's aura was vaguely terrifying, turning into a supreme, immortal king. Even the distant star regions were trembling. In a distant region, there were faint but poignant blossoms of blood, one after another, easily able to burn the great universe. Puffed! Xing Pengze coughed up large mouthfuls of blood, his eyes burning with endless fury. This old monkey was too overboard. He had already fled so far, yet he was still slapped, the back of his head buzzing. Moreover, it wasn't just him. A few great figures from the reincarnation emperor race, and Xian people who occupied the periphery of the imperial city, also suffered a thunderous blow. Damn it! Is the Phoenix King's face really that great? Even this old monkey can be invited? They cried out in alarm. This old monkey had really gone mad, directly targeting them. One had to know that they hadn't even stepped into the imperial city, yet they were already warned. Wasn't this too domineering? Was it declaring war on their emperor race? Wasn't it afraid that when the heavenly monkey king completely aged, your race would incur great karma? Who exactly is it? Su Yan's mind was greatly shaken. The immortal iron rod floating in his body shone, resonating with the old monkey's aura. Chapter 1888. Tyrant Bear's expression sunk. It didn't expect so many experts to be lying in ambush near King City. Fortunately, the Phoenix King invited the Monkey King over. After all, the Phoenix King was no longer an immortal king, but the words of an existence like the Monkey King were too great. Only a few experts caught the bloody scene in the distant world. Their hearts were filled with coldness. It really was as domineering as the legend said, directly warning the great emperor clans not to go overboard. No one expected that an immortal king would stand up for Su Yan, directly stepping out to fight. This was simply going to fight with the emperor clans. The Monkey King was someone who could shake the world when it was young, walking the path of invincibility. Even though its blood and chi declined, the hot blood in its chest hadn't been extinguished, still surging, still burning. The weight of its words was too great. The group of seriously injured experts all roared, madness, anger, and coldness in their eyes. However, no matter how furious they were, they didn't dare release any killing intent, or else they would be killed mercilessly. This was an immortal king. It couldn't be humiliated. Originally, this group of people occupied the surroundings of King City, wanting to cut off Su Yan's path, make him stay in King City forever. They didn't expect that in the end, the old monkey would act so domineeringly, protecting Su Yan, even releasing words. Those who understood the Monkey King's past were all clear. This person fought heaven and earth, lived a glorious life. He was once an unrivaled genius of the immortal cave, winning in the immortal devil battlefield. Even though it was unknown why he left the immortal cave, this person's growth was extremely glorious and prosperous. If not for him being injured in the Three Realms battlefield back then, his blood and chi wouldn't have declined to this extent. Moreover, his descendant, the heavenly holy king, was still in the immortal cave, also winning in the immortal devil battlefield. Su Yan's mind was in turmoil. The immortal iron staff was ringing. Could it be that this immortal iron staff belonged to the Monkey King? Some of the important treasures on Su Yan's body were all in his body, ensuring that he could use them in times of danger. The immortal iron staff contained a killing move, also one of Su Yan's greatest life-saving trump cards. Could it be that this staff came from the immortal world? This left Su Yan extremely shocked. Perhaps it was because of the immortal iron rod that the Monkey King spoke so domineeringly, forcibly forcing away the experts in the surroundings. The Elder Courtyard's aura was especially oppressive. Xiongba and the others all distanced themselves from this area. They felt uneasy staying here. The Phoenix King expressed his thanks. Su Yan had decided to stay in the celestial world. The Phoenix King was prepared to invite a heavyweight expert to speak on behalf of Su Yan. Speaking of which, the Monkey King's injuries were somewhat related to him as well. In the past, he had forced his way into the Three Realms battlefield and killed 2 immortal kings of the Dark World. How could the Dark World leave the matter at that? They spread the word that they wanted to kill the Phoenix King and gathered a large number of experts in the Three Realms battlefield. Back then, the Heavenly Monkey King was one of the main forces in that battle. The battle lasted for more than 10 years, and he almost died. No need to be so polite. The Monkey King also admired the Phoenix King. A smile appeared on his dignified face as he said, "It's not easy to recover to this level. Work hard in the future, and maybe you can return to the peak. I'll be counting on your auspicious words." The Phoenix King sighed. He also wanted to quickly recover, but this matter couldn't be rushed. He needed a great opportunity. After Mu, Xin, and the others left the King's city, the Phoenix King also prepared to head out to see if he could find a way to recover. "Phoenix King, I want to have a chat with this little brother." The Monkey King's golden eyes landed on Su Yan. He sensed a very familiar aura from him and gradually became excited. "Let's go to my cave residence." The Phoenix King brought Su Yan and opened the Immortal King's cave residence. Only when the Monkey King's aura faded did the Elder Courtyard regain its calm. There were sounds of discussion everywhere. Bao Kai and the others were excited. This old monkey was too righteous. The words of an immortal king had great deterrence. On the surface, the emperor races would show restraint. Junior Su Yin greets the heavenly Monkey King. Su Yin bowed deeply and said gratefully, "Thank you, Senior, for your help. Junior can't thank you enough. You rejected the chance to become a core disciple of the Celestial Cave. Don't you regret it?" The Monkey King's figure was tall and sturdy. Although the golden fur on his body was dim, he was still valiant. Just his gaze contained great divine might that could see through one's heart. "No, Junior wants to walk his own path." Su Yin replied, "I don't want to be trapped in the Celestial Cave for life. I heard that Senior was also in the Celestial Cave, but according to Junior's understanding, once you enter it, it is very difficult to leave." The Monkey King didn't hide anything from Su Yin and said, "My heavenly monkey race has very few bloodline seeds. Back then, the previous race leader was about to die and protected me out of the Celestial Cave, hoping that I could walk the path of the Immortal King. For this, he paid a great price. Could it be that after entering the Celestial Cave, you won't be able to return in your entire life?" Su Yin frowned and asked, "Of course not." The Monkey King shook his head and said, "The Celestial Cave gathers the strongest resources of the entire immortal world and accumulates one batch after another. A batch of war god seeds can obtain the strongest cultivation in the Celestial Cave. This is without a doubt. If you can win 3 lifetimes, you can choose to leave the Celestial Cave." Su Yin was shocked. This meant that one had to participate in 3 great battles of the Immortal Demon. In terms of time, it was too long, but to the Emperor clans, it was nothing. Each Emperor clan had the most terrifying war god seeds hibernating, waiting for the summons of the great battle of the Immortal Demon generation after generation. There were some experts who had participated in no less than 10 great battles and were unwilling to leave. After all, being nurtured by the strongest resources could maintain a glorious and invincible body. Very few people would choose to give up and leave. 3 lifetimes is too long. I can't wait. Su Yin shook his head. The existence of the Celestial Cave has its advantages and disadvantages. Although it was established for the great battle of the Immortal Demon, this path is also wrong. Looking at the entire immortal world, the younger generation of all the clans only knows how to enjoy life. How many heroes are there who are truly working hard and fighting on the battlefield? The Monkey King revealed great dissatisfaction. In the past great battles of the Immortal Demon generation, there were fewer and fewer newcomers. Sometimes, there were no newcomers at all. If they continued to rely on their foundation, they would suffer a great loss sooner or later. More importantly, the Celestial Cave accumulated batches of war god seeds, which had long become a burden for the Celestial Cave. But more importantly, the Celestial Kings of the immortal world were getting fewer and fewer. The strongest resources were given to the Celestial Cave, but they couldn't bring them to the strongest experts of the immortal world. After a long time, the gap between the top forces of the immortal world and the dark world was getting bigger and bigger. If the dark world hadn't suffered a heavy blow millions of years ago, the consequences would have been unpredictable. The times will change. I'm just worried that before the change, it will be terrible. The Phoenix King shook his head and sighed. Back then, he almost went to the Celestial Cave. If he really went, there wouldn't be the current Phoenix King. Su Yin was shocked. Could it be that the immortal world was facing such great danger? Even the celestial kings didn't feel optimistic. After all, the battle between the two worlds was the greatest disaster. Once they lost, what would be left of the world? The celestial cave was a place where glory gathered. Everyone felt honored to join the celestial cave, but they didn't know that since the destruction of the human world, the immortal world was facing greater and greater threats. If all the pillars collapsed, there would be no meaning for the celestial cave to exist. When the true disaster came, the lives of the young geniuses were as cheap as paper, but the waters of the celestial cave were too deep. How could they reform just because they wanted to? Even becoming an immortal elder of the celestial cave was difficult. Almost all of them were members of the various emperor clans. At this time, the Phoenix King took his leave. The old monkey's body shone brightly. Although it didn't emit the aura of an immortal king, the battle's sacred light surged out of its body. Once again, it attracted the slumbering immortal iron rod in Su Yan's body. Su Yan stopped suppressing it and took out the immortal iron rod. Boom! A golden rod laid horizontally between heaven and earth. It flowed with the light of the great Tao and faintly emitted an extremely terrifying attack power. The old monkey's pupils trembled. It could even be said that it was excited. Its hands were trembling as it stroked the body of the rod. Its golden pupils quickly turned red, and hot tears flowed out. Although it was controlling and suppressing it, it was also very difficult. Senior, Su Yan was shocked. The broken immortal iron rod made the old monkey reveal its true feelings. If it was an outsider, they would be shocked again. The Monkey King had been unyielding all his life. He was firm and fierce, but when had he ever shed tears? It was an immortal king. It revealed its true feelings. Its large hands stroked the body of the rod. It could vaguely sense that the immortal iron rod had changed, turning into a terrifying divine monkey with matchless majesty. It's him. The old monkey's expression was a little absent-minded. Time seemed to have returned to a distant era. It let out a low roar. It was difficult to control its emotions. Back then, the Heavenly Monkey King had high hopes placed on him by the tribes. They hoped that he could rise in a short period of time and charge into the Immortal King realm in the future. Otherwise, once the old tribe leader of the Heavenly Monkey tribe passed away, the tribe would be in danger. After all, the Heavenly Monkey tribe and the primordial god fiends were locked in a fierce battle. Once the guardian of the Heavenly Monkey tribe passed away, the tribe would be wiped out. Back then, the Heavenly Monkey King's potential was extraordinary. However, how difficult was the path of an immortal king? To put it bluntly, Ingjia, who had been sleeping for a long time in the immortal cave, did not leave because he was worried that he would die prematurely if he left the immortal cave in the future. For such peerless geniuses, their ambitions were higher than the sky. If they did not become an immortal king, they would not have the face to face the world. Back then, although the Heavenly Monkey King had risen in a short period of time and stepped into the forbidden region, the path of an immortal king was still filled with difficulties. The guardian of the tribe did not wait for the Monkey King to step into the immortal king realm and passed away. Immortal kings already had an endless lifespan. However, in the struggle between the immortal world and the dark world, immortal kings would also die, be seriously injured, and lose an immeasurable amount of lifespan. The Heavenly Monkey King in the Forbidden Region carried the banner of prosperity for the tribe. He would often face the provocation of the primordial god fiends. It was really difficult for the tribe, especially when the Heavenly Monkey King was in a hurry to break through. He almost died on the path to becoming an immortal king. Benefactor, the old monkey roared, its fists clenched tightly, its eyes red. Dong, dong, dong. It beat its chest forcefully, muffled thunder rumbling. Back then, it almost died on the path to becoming an immortal king. If it died, then their Heavenly Monkey tribe would have no chance to rise again. The tribe would be ruined by its hands. A day of despair. It encountered a terrifying divine monkey king who gave it guidance, correcting its incomplete path to becoming an immortal king. After the Tao was developed, it severed its old self and gave birth to a new self, turning into a brand new Heavenly Monkey King. It succeeded. Moreover, it was even more terrifying than it had expected. It obtained great fortune, the guidance of an unrivaled giant. However, when it looked back, it wanted to repay its benefactor. However, that divine monkey disappeared without a trace. Some people said that it died, but it didn't believe it. It would never believe that such a terrifying divine monkey would die. Now that it saw its damaged weapon, the old monkey revealed its true feelings. Could it be that the divine monkey really died? The immortal king wept, kowtowing towards the immortal iron staff. Back then, the divine monkey not only gave it tremendous fortune, it also gave the heavenly monkey tribe hope. The kindness was too great. After a long time had passed, the heavenly monkey king's emotions gradually calmed down. It returned to normal. Right now, it was also an indomitable expert. It would often visualize the divine monkey, able to see through the heavenly might that suppressed the great river of time. Senior, this weapon was left behind by an expert from my celestial court. Suyin said softly. I know. The divine monkey sighed, saying, I also heard that its weapon broke. I asked the Xian people, Reincarnation Emperor clan, but there was no answer. It was those two clans. A hint of shock appeared in Su Yan's mind. I investigated. It should be them, but I didn't get a concrete answer. The Heavenly Monkey King said coldly, it should be related to their mysterious background. Otherwise, the Xian people and Reincarnation Emperor clan would have been crippled long ago, no longer existing. Su Yan's mood was heavy. If this was the case, then the immortal world's most ancient emperor clan was truly formidable. The reason why the ancient celestial emperors couldn't destroy the two great emperor clans in a thunderous manner was somewhat related to their mysterious background. Back then, the Heavenly Monkey King investigated the divine monkey's past, investigating a few things. In the end, it concluded that the divine monkeys group was like the ancient celestial emperors, mysteriously disappearing, their whereabouts unknown. The Heavenly Monkey King's eyes looked at the immortal iron staff. It couldn't see what material it was made of, but it could still see that this immortal iron staff could be repaired. However, it needed the original material to do so. I don't have the strength to repair this weapon. The old monkey sighed and handed the immortal iron staff to Su Yin, saying, this contains its power, but it's not as powerful as it was at its peak. However, it's still very formidable. It seems like the Phoenix King is overthinking. With this item protecting you, the experts outside the city won't be able to stop you. Su Yin chuckled and felt warmth in his heart. Indeed, it was the Phoenix King who invited it here. The old monkey really wanted to thank the Phoenix King. One of its wishes had been fulfilled. It kowtowed to the weapon in place of the divine monkey, performing the ceremony of a disciple. This was one of its wishes. At the same time, Su Yan's heart was shaken. What was sealed in the mysterious jar that the Dao Shi gave him before leaving? He really wanted to open it and take a look. However, he resisted in the end. The Dao Shi in the past also said that it could only be opened at the most dangerous moment. Su Yin, you and I are no longer outsiders. The old monkey looked at Su Yin as if he was looking at a junior. It was especially happy and said, you can even defeat a heavenly noble. This means that your potential is very great. Have you thought about your future path? This junior already has an answer. There's no need for senior to worry about my matters, Su Yin replied. That's good. The old monkey nodded. Unfortunately, Su Yin was a human and wasn't suitable for this race's laws. Otherwise, the Celestial Monkey King would have directly taken Su Yin under its wing and nurtured him wholeheartedly. Following which, it took out a golden ring and handed it to Su Yin, saying that he could crush it if he encountered any trouble that he couldn't solve. Many thanks, Senior. Su Yan's expression was solemn as he accepted the golden ring. Set out immediately. You can't stay in the royal city any longer. The situation might change if you delay. The immortal world is about to face the greatest change. Walk the path of the strong as soon as possible. Since you're from a celestial court, you can't weaken the reputation of the celestial court. The old monkey said in a deep voice. The grudges between the celestial court and the Xian people were too deep. If Su Yan's cultivation wasn't weak, They might have alarmed the titled emperors. This junior understands. I won't let senior down. Suyin nodded and walked out to summon Bao Kai and the others. It was time to set out. Chapter 1889. Suyin was extremely surprised. Mu Exine wanted to go as well. Her large eyes were clear and bright. She wore a blue dress, and her figure was graceful and elegant. Her snow-white skin faintly released five-colored radiance. Vaguely, Suyin caught a glimpse of the seal breaking within Mu Exine's body. The shackles shattered, and an extremely terrifying immortal phoenix aura leaked out. It was about to break through the heavens and rush into the outer realm, spreading its wings and roaming about. Daeson, the peak of Daeson. Suyin was speechless. Mu Exine had hidden her strength too deeply. It seemed like there was a powerful seal within her body. However, as the Phoenix King's granddaughter, how could Mu Exine be weak? This was especially true when the seal was about to break. The immortal phoenix's might roiled and whistled, suppressing heaven and earth until the rivers and mountains lost their color. The great stars in the sky were about to fall. One had to know that this was a supreme existence, an immortal phoenix. Mu Exine giggled and retracted her aura. Her eyes were also filled with reluctance, but of course there was even more yearning. She was confined in the capital, not allowed to leave. Moreover, the Phoenix King had laid down layers of seals within her body. Now Mu Exine was like a little phoenix locked in a cage. She wanted to roam the world to her heart's content. Mu Exine was very dependent on Bamboo Moon. She wanted to get close to this gentle and dignified woman. It was hard to imagine that this was an immortal phoenix with a fierce reputation. She had the gentleness of a little girl. She smiled happily, her black brows curved. The group arrived at the immortal king's abode and appeared before a black altar. There were traces of time on the altar. Its aura was very ancient, and it was faintly releasing the light of time. This altar was clearly extraordinary. It was densely covered in profound patterns. The Phoenix King activated the black altar. It was shaking and rushing out with great Tao space-time radiance. It emitted astonishing space-time energy. When it surged and erupted, even the heavens were split open, and a terrifying crack appeared. Boom! The Heavenly Monkey King chanted sutras. Its body reverberated with the roars of gods and demons. It was operating its own great Tao order and adding it to the space-time energy emitted by the black altar. This was to prevent others from tracking Su Yan's whereabouts. They should be leaving. Don't you plan to make a move? Within the Starry Sky Imperial Clan's residence, in a secluded courtyard, Starry Night's body was covered in cuts and bruises. Her gaze was somewhat cold as she quietly looked at the figure standing in front of her. The shadow was somewhat blurry and unreal, like an illusory thunderbolt. However, upon closer inspection, this blurry lightning aura suddenly went berserk. The entire sky was filled with a vast rain of lightning. Terrifying radiance blasted out, containing a peerlessly terrifying power to split open the heavens. Who was he? The Tenrai of Beach. However, this wasn't his main body. It was just a clone that stood in the room. Sometimes it would transform into a blurry figure, and sometimes it would transform into a terrifying world of lightning. I know you have resentment in your heart. You also resent me for not helping you vent your anger in time. The Tenrai of Beak's expression was calm as he said, "My brother has fallen. I want to kill him even more than you do. Then why don't you make a move? Do you still have me in your eyes? You also said that little thunder has fallen. Could it be that you're just going to watch Su Yin continue to be free and unfettered?" Starry Night was annoyed. Outsiders only knew that she was the fiancée of the Tenrai of Beach, but they didn't understand that there was only a title between them and not much affection. However, because of this, Starry Night's position in the clan was too high. She was completely the pearl of the Starry Sky Imperial clan. Free and unfettered? The Tenrai of Beach shook his head. He didn't think that an ant from the lower realm could only live in fear all day. If it wasn't for the great fortune of meeting the Phoenix King, he would have been a corpse long ago. Although the old monkey of the Celestial Monkey clan was protecting Su Yin, He also said that the struggle of the younger generation had nothing to do with the older generation. If Su Yin had fallen in his hands, the old monkey wouldn't say anything. Was that so? Once he missed this opportunity, he didn't know when the next one would be. You didn't even come with your true body. Starry Night was even more disappointed. My path of acting is about to succeed. I'm just lacking a bit of maturity. The big picture is more important. The Tenrai of Beek's response shocked Starry Night. She had heard from the elders of the clan that the Tenrai of Beek had hopes of reaching a higher level. He was equivalent to a creature nurtured by the heavens. Once he finished his Tao, he would cut off his current body and give birth to a brand new one. The Tenrai of Beek was walking the path of the strongest. If he could reach a higher level, what was the situation like for the Tenrai of Beek on that day? Was it difficult for him to reach a peak in 3 battles on the immortal demon battlefield? He would become an immortal king in the future. Starry Night felt excited just thinking about it. If her man became an immortal king, how glorious would she be in the future? Crushing Su Yin would be like crushing an ant. Would the Phoenix King be enough? That old monkey with declining vital energy and blood would definitely not be enough. But I'm not willing to let Su Yin go just like that. Starry Night gritted her teeth. Her injuries were still very serious. Tai Baotsai's 20 strikes had almost killed her. Don't worry, he won't live for long. A trace of coldness flashed across the Tenrai of Beek's eyes. No matter what, Starry Night was his woman. Su Yin had ordered Tai Baokai to beat Starry Night up on the streets. This was a slap to his face. It was even more hateful than killing Little Thunder. I have something important to discuss with you. The Tenrai of Beek walked to the bedside and whispered something in her ear. This made Starry Night's eyes widen. My race is Heavenly Star Pearl? Starry Night stuttered. Suddenly, she was arrogant and despotic, but she knew what the Heavenly Star Pearl meant. This was the most powerful treasure of the Starry Sky Emperor race. It was an item that suppressed the fate of the entire race. But now, the Tenrai of Beek wanted her race's Heavenly Star Pearl to help. How could Starry Night reply to this? An ant from the lower domain is just a piece of dust. I believe that after experiencing some things, he will be very clear about his position. The Tenrai of Beek placed his hands behind his back and said calmly. He rejected the celestial race's invitation and the chance to become a core disciple of the Immortal Cave. The Monkey King and the Phoenix King's paths are not suitable for human cultivators. This Su Yin is either a fool or has prepared a backup plan. Backup plan? What backup plan can he have? Starry Night frowned. If he left the Phoenix King, where else could he go? Under the deterrence of the Emperor race. Even with the old monkey's words, it was almost impossible to take a single step in the trial grounds of the immortal world. Could it be? Starry Night's eyes widened, and a trace of horror flashed in her eyes. Thinking of the Heavenly Star Pearl and Su Yan's backup plan, she suddenly exclaimed, "Are you talking about the Emperor's repository Tao cave? The place where emperors withered, people called it the Emperor's repository Tao cave. Even if it was a place where emperors died, it would gradually become a place of great fortune. Of course, those who were not strong could not explore it. The most terrifying Emperor's repository Tao cave in the immortal world naturally did not lack the secret palace left behind by the Bury the Heavens. This was very terrifying. Almost all the Emperor race in the immortal world had thought of the Emperor's repository Tao cave. Some of the Emperor race had even joined forces, but unfortunately, without exception, they all failed. After all, the secret palace of the Bury the Heavens was his cave in the immortal world back then, and there was an immeasurable danger. There was once a rumor that it could be opened, but perhaps if it was forcefully opened, the entire Emperor's repository Tao cave would be reduced to ashes. This matter was gradually forgotten by the world. However, Starry Night knew very well that their race had once attacked the Emperor's repository Tao cave, opened the first layer of the seal, and barged in. Unfortunately, they had only opened the first layer of the seal and were unable to continue exploring. The Starry Sky Emperor of the past their race had paid a huge price, and the Heavenly Star Pearl, their race's most precious treasure, had entered. Now that the Tenrai of Beach had mentioned the Emperor's repository Dao Cave, Starry Night was particularly shocked. Were they going to the Emperor's repository Dao Cave? After all, the risk was too great, and death could be at every turn. For a terrified ant who doesn't want to leave the immortal world, the Emperor's repository Dao Cave is his last resort. The Tenrai of Beach said in a low voice, "My race's elders have already investigated. The Emperor's repository Dao Cave has 3 layers of seals, and no one can break the final layer. Perhaps the Heaven Burial Avatar can break the 3rd layer." Starry Night instantly understood. This matter was too big. The existence behind the Tenrai of Beach was plotting something. Of course, relying on the Tenrai of Beach's lineage was not enough. The Tenrai of Beach had already convinced the Xian people. If this matter progressed smoothly, it would be the time to harvest the creation. Even if it failed, Su Yin would not be able to live. All right, I'll inform the family immediately. Starry Night's emotions surged. This was a huge matter. The 2 great imperial clans and the Tenrai of Beak's lineage had joined forces to explore the land of creation. However, the premise was that they had to rely on Su Yan's power. Once the secret world left behind by the Bury the Heavens was opened, they would reap unimaginable opportunities. The influence would be too frightening. It might even change the structure of the immortal world. The Tenrai of Beach valued the human emperor's sutra the most. If it was really the heaven-opening sutra of the immortal world's 10 great heaven-opening sutras, it was extremely important to him. "Eldest young master, they've left." An old servant outside the door reported that he had sensed the subtle space-time fluctuations of the Elder Council. "It's as I expected," the Tenrai of Beach said calmly. "There's no time to lose. Let's move out immediately. Let's go." Su Yin and the others stepped onto the black altar and were instantly enveloped by an unusually majestic space-time aura. They all felt a little dizzy, as if their lives had left their bodies. Only the heavens knew how vast the journey was. There were billions of worlds in the immortal world and ancient world. This was an aimless journey. With the support of the Monkey King's power, once the space-time path to the ancient world was opened, the distance they had traversed was unimaginable. "Grandpa!" Before leaving, Mu Xian shouted. Her big, clear eyes turned red. She was reluctant to part with them. "Go, child." The Phoenix King smiled. His eyes were full of love. He originally wanted Mu Xian to stay in the royal city and not participate in any disputes. He didn't want her to go to any battlefields and not follow her father's path. But now he felt that he was wrong. He shouldn't have affected Mu Xian's life. She also had the chance to spread her wings and soar. Bamboo Moon patted Mu Xian's shoulder gently. She was comforting her like a big sister. Mu Xian had never left the royal city and had never been to the outside world. She was truly a pure and flawless little girl. Although she was a peak Daesong and had been taught many skills by the Phoenix King, her wings were not fully grown. She was destined to experience many obstacles in the future. Boom! The Transrealm War was fully activated. Su Yin and the others disappeared. However, what they didn't notice, and what even the old monkey didn't notice, was that a hazy figure, like moonlight rain, crossed the space-time. He wore a mysterious battle armor and covered the sky with the Emperor's light. He followed the realm, traversing power, tracking it step by step. But in the end, he couldn't catch up. This mysterious expert stood in the distant ancient world and stared at the Transrealm war that was far away from his sight. He frowned. He didn't expect the Phoenix King to be so careful. He purposely asked the old monkey to support him with the immortal king's power. It was difficult to track him for a long time. "I missed a good opportunity. I don't know when I'll have to wait for the next time." This person sighed. His figure gradually disappeared. Chapter 1890. The celestial world was majestic with billions of ancient worlds. Su Yin and the others traveled across the universe in units of 10,000 worlds. This was a superpower that only celestial kings had. The distance they traveled was immeasurable. Gradually, the power that enveloped them weakened. The blurry scene in front of them became clear. They were close to a plain. This place was desolate and sparsely populated. "What ancient world have we come to?" Suyin stood up and scanned the plain. It covered 1,000,000 miles. Moreover, the essence of this world was relatively thin. It couldn't be compared to the royal city's environment. Bao Kai and the others were dizzy. They hadn't completely reacted yet. After crossing such a far region, it was as if her life had been taken away. Even the powerful Mu Xan rubbed her eyelids, wanting to wake up quickly. Suyin was very careful and cautious. His spiritual will covered the plain to prevent any accidents. Soon, he realized that he worried too much. The divine power of the black altar was still there, and the celestial monkey king's figure was faintly discernible. It guarded the surroundings to prevent any accidents from happening. The celestial world is not as good as before. The ancient voice of the mysterious skeleton rang out, waking Suyin from his deep thoughts. He noticed a blurry shadow floating between the heavens and the earth. It was a little unclear, like a space-time light rain that was flowing. Senior, was the celestial world in the past even stronger than the current environment? Suyin asked. That's right. The mysterious skeleton nodded and said, the celestial world is lacking, but the environment is still very strong. What it lacks isn't the environment, energy, essence, or substance. However, compared to the celestial world in the past, the difference is not small. Suyin frowned and sighed. The celestial world and the dark world could fight to a draw. Can the current celestial world resist the invasion of the dark world? The Phoenix King and the Celestial Monkey King were worried about the future. This meant that the problem was very serious. Once the final battle broke out, it was unknown whether the celestial world would still exist. Wrong. The three worlds were very strong in the past. The human world was ruled by the human emperor. The three worlds were also relatively peaceful. There weren't many wars. Suyin was shocked. Human emperor? The three worlds weren't filled with war. Instead, they lived in a relatively peaceful environment. How long ago was this? Even the Phoenix King and the old monkey did not know about this part of history. How strong is Human King? How powerful was Bury the Heavens during the age of buried heaven in the human world? Did Human King and Bury the Heavens fall? Suyin looked at the sky and spoke to himself. Rumor has it that Human King has fallen. Some people say that Human King has passed away. I don't know much about Bury the Heavens, the mysterious skeleton said calmly. Back then, he was able to stand up to the immortal realm and fight against the immortal realm. That's how powerful Bury the Heavens was. The mysterious skeleton was somewhat sentimental. He had lost a part of his memory. Until now, he still didn't know how this memory was lost. It was quite ridiculous. This was a thorn in the heart of the mysterious skeleton. He also wanted to know everything that happened at the final moment of the human world. Is he dead or alive? The mysterious skeleton calmed down and said, let's go to his secret palace. Maybe we can find some clues there. Suyan's heart skipped a beat. Soon, at this time, Bao Kai and the others woke up. Suyin and the others crossed the Great Plain and saw a group of tribes. They were surrounded by smoke and clouds, but there was a murderous aura. The heavens and the earth were oppressive, as if a storm was coming. It was very depressing, and it startled the beasts that were hibernating in the mountains and valleys. Boom! In the distant world, the surging energy formed a frenzy. It surged violently and overturned a large number of villages. A large army is coming. Are we being followed? Bao Kai was alert. They had just left King City, and they had come to a war-torn land. Was this too much of a coincidence? Boom! The sound of the cavalry's trampling was like a landslide and a tsunami. The vast world trembled violently. Some villages were disintegrated, and many villagers' bodies were torn apart. Crack! Ah! The old man screamed in pain. His body was torn apart. There were also babies crying and struggling in the cold pools of blood. Hundreds of cavalry charged forward with surging, killing intent. They were like a flood of iron armor. How could these villagers resist? Large numbers of stone houses were blasted apart by their charge. It was a complete bloodbath. Not even chickens or dogs were spared. Too abominable. They're bandits. They won't even let the babies go. Mu Xian's eyes were spewing flames. She hated evil as if it were her personal enemy. She was just like the Phoenix King. Doubtlessly, this was a nightmare for this large tribe. A rain of blood was falling from the sky, and a bitter aura surged. Very soon, the entire tribe would be devoured, and all life would be exterminated. Boom! Mu-Xin charged forward. An immortal phoenix soared behind her. It was extremely resplendent. One had to admit that she was very powerful. She smashed a knight who was about to kill a baby with a butcher's knife. Who goes there? The commander of the 100 Cavalry was furious. However, he was shocked when his gaze fell on Su Yan's group. Retreat, retreat quickly. The 100 Cavalry's expression changed drastically. This was a group of powerful nobles. Where did this group of monsters come from? In the Imperial City, nobles were very common. However, in the entire immortal world, nobles were too rare. It was already very lucky to meet one in some barren ancient worlds. But now, they saw powerful nobles coming one after another. These people were all unfamiliar, especially the leader, Su Yan. However, his title was so terrifying that it made even emperors tremble. Who are you? The group of cavalry cried out in fear. Su Yan's group pushed forward without a word. They were not going to let a single one of them go. They slaughtered an army of 1,000,000 cavalry. Cheers could be heard everywhere in this bleeding tribe. Some people even knelt down and cowed out. Thank you for saving our lives. Thank you, noble. Elder, please get up. Why are they targeting you? Mu-Xin hurriedly helped the elder up. She also took out many spiritual medicines for him to recover. Thank you, fairy. Thank you. The elder shed tears of gratitude. This was the ancient divine mind world. It was not just a simple ancient world. There were more than 100 ancient worlds, collectively known as the ancient divine mind world. Mu-Xin quickly understood. No wonder there were so many bandits here. Hundreds of ancient divine mind worlds were all mining areas. Precious materials could be dug out all year round. Many powerful tribes coveted this fat piece of meat. However, the value of the ancient divine mind world was terrifying. It was so rich that bandits often ran rampant. Many of the villagers in the tribe were proficient in mining secret techniques. Without a doubt, they were targeted. If they had not met Su Yan, they would have been killed. There was a very prestigious elder in the tribe. He took out a wooden box from a secret room and gave it to Su Yan's group as a sign of gratitude. Fairy Xia's group would not accept it. They had dug out these ores with their lives. After all, the mining area was very dangerous. Every year, many villagers would die while mining. Su Yan looked around. Some of the ores were very valuable. No wonder it would lead to a disaster. He asked the villagers if there were any other bandits nearby. A young man in the village smiled bitterly and said, "Little brother, the bandits of the ancient divine mind world come and go without a trace. We can't find a stronghold. The army used to suppress them, but it was not very useful. People die for wealth, birds die for food." Bao Kai shook its head. It had figured out that the mining area could even dig out immortal source. The immortal world was vast. It was too difficult to make a name for oneself. This had led to many experts becoming bandits and walking on the crooked path. Is there a mining area 100,000 miles ahead? Su Yan pointed to the east. There was a strange look in his eyes. He had vaguely captured the power of the Urvain. "Lord Marquis, you have good eyes." An old man in his 70s said in shock. "Are you a strange heaven master?" Seeing Su Yan nod, the villagers were tongue-tied. This was an extraordinary person. He had a high status in the divine mind world. He was given the title of VIP by the powerful tribes. Su Yan did not expect there to be strange people in the immortal world. A young man in the village said, "Lord Marquis, I met a strange heaven master half a month ago. He was very clever. I heard that a mind king was about to appear in the ancient divine mind world. I heard that this strange heaven master had been looking for it for a long time and still could not locate it." Mind king? A strange look flashed in Su Yan's eyes. The birth of a mind king caused all the mining areas in the ancient divine mind world to resonate. An old man in the village said in a low voice, "This happened 3 years ago. It happens once every half a month. It is quite frequent. I don't know when a mind king will be born." Su Yan was also shocked. the birth of a mine king and the resonance of all the mining areas. This phenomenon was amazing just thinking about it. Of course, it was referring to the ancient world, not the ancient worlds. The villagers even concluded that the mine king most likely came from the mining area that Su Yan had just pointed out. How did you know about such a secretive matter? Bamboo Moon was surprised. Fairy, there is something you do not know. The people in the village were all born and raised here. Very little news could be hidden from their eyes and ears. Someone lowered his voice and said, Reincarnation Emperor Race's strange heaven master once brought many of our people to explore the mining area, no less than 10 times. The Reincarnation Imperial Race. Su Yan's eyes were cold. He did not expect to get such a clue by accident. The Sky Tyrant Lord was still in the first battlefield. Su Yan would never forget that a great emperor of the Sky Tyrant Lord had almost killed him before he was born. By the way, do you know what the hidden world is? Su Yan asked again. The burial world? The villagers were surprised. This was a place of no life. Of course, they did not know that the burial world was the nest of the Bury the Heavens. The burial world was not far from the ancient divine mind world. They had heard of it, but they had never seen it. After all, for the villagers, crossing an ancient world was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Soon, Su Yan said goodbye to the villagers. He did not go to the burial world immediately. He was curious about what a mine king was. The closer he was to the ancient mine, the stronger Su Yan's perception became. The heaven-opening brush was glowing. It was a supreme treasure that belonged to the strange sect. At this moment, it was also emitting powerful perception. The simple heaven-opening brush was covered in dense symbols that vaguely flowed with the power to split open the heavens. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a strange light. He tried to circulate the heaven-opening lightning scripture and found that the power of the heaven-opening brush suddenly increased by a lot. Su Yan was shocked. He asked Mu Xian, Is there anything about the strange sect in the heaven-opening scripture? Yes, I've heard of it. It's called the heaven-opening scripture or something. Su Yan was really surprised. The heaven-opening brush should be closely related to the heaven-opening scripture. Moreover, the 10 great heaven-opening scriptures might really be scriptures that existed with the origin of the immortal world. Otherwise, how could the heaven-opening lightning scripture use the heaven-opening brush's power? At this moment, Su Yan seemed to have opened his heavenly eyes, peering into the universe and exploring the mysteries of the universe. His ears and eyes were sharp, and his perception could be said to be terrifying. It was as if he had turned into the Lord of the Earth. The flowers, plants, and trees were all used by Su Yan to explore the mysteries of the world for him. Su Yan was really excited. He had unexpectedly obtained such a supreme method. He really wanted to thank the Tenrai of Beach. Soon, Su Yan's perception saw the source of the commotion. It was as if there were huge, immortal furnaces burning. This was a group of extremely terrifying Emperor Realm powerhouses. There were even forbidden fluctuations that made his hair stand on end. The lineup was too big. The Reincarnation Imperial clan valued the mine king very much. Otherwise, they would not have sent so many powerhouses. Moreover, this ancient world had been sealed, and no one was allowed to enter or leave. Moreover, they were communicating with each other. A cold light flashed in Su Yan's eyes. They had mentioned the 100 riders, and they were actually related to the Reincarnation Imperial clan. They wanted to kill them all to silence them. This clan is really vicious. In order to keep a secret, they even want to silence the villagers who helped them explore the ancient mine. Su Yan was angry. At the same time, this also proved that the mine king that the Reincarnation Imperial clan wanted was ridiculously valuable.